The White House had a party, a celebration for the Inflation Reduction Act on a day when we are facing a near record collapse in the market. And even Cardi B, respect Cardi, came out ranting about, or outraged about inflation costs, the rising costs of rent, wondering how are people surviving this? And I got respect for Cardi B for doing it because she supported Biden and the Democrats in 2020. And now she's just like, I don't care. Like, this is messed up. But at the same time, Joe Biden's out there in the White House celebrating, things are great. Meanwhile, people in this country are suffering. You know, maybe the real reason they're celebrating is that they're zealots. They've got people who blindly follow and just believe all this stuff, and they're going to vote for him either way. So it's the unfortunate reality of where we're at, but that's what's happening. Well, I will say one thing that's good news is the Emmys happened, and you probably didn't notice because I didn't. And the ratings were the lowest, record lows, like 5 million people watched. It's no longer a cultural event. We're moving past this, and it's good news. I think we're going to win the culture war, and that's one of the reasons why. So we'll get into that and more. But before we get started, my friends, head over to surfinginternetsafe.com and pick up Virtual Shield. Download it today. It's a virtual private network service. It provides you a basic layer of security as you browse the web so that prying eyes, government hackers, government actors, just general bad people, it makes it a lot harder for them to steal your information. Again, surfinginternetsafe.com. And Virtual Shield's VPN service is compatible with all devices. It allows you to browse the web safely, securely, and anonymously using their global network of servers and private IPs. It'll let, big name ISPs and other third parties will not be able to monitor and sell your internet history. When using their VPN service, your traffic is routed through their secure and encrypted servers. That means any restrictions, censorship, blocks on your internet are bypassed. You get fast, reliable, always secure service completely free for 30 days. It's available on Mac, Windows, iPhone, iPad, Android, or Chrome. Virtual Shield does all the work. All you got to do is download it, click go, and you're good to go. And it also will route your Wi-Fi. It'll completely encrypt your Wi-Fi connection, blocking hackers and everyone else from accessing any of your data. So again, head over to surfinginternetsafe.com. Shout out to Virtual Shield. They are our first sponsor. They've been here the entire time, going back years, all the way back to when I had just one little YouTube channel with like no subscribers on it. So I'm really proud to have them as a sponsor, and I appreciate their support. Also, head over to timcast.com, become a member, and support our work directly. We're going to have a members-only show coming up at about 11 p.m. tonight. We do that Monday through Thursday. As a member, you're supporting our journalists, our newsroom, and our other shows, and helping make all of this possible. Joining us to talk about all this and more is Patick Courrielche.
How you doing? It's great to be here, Tim. Really appreciate it.
Who are you?
Patick Courrielche, co-host of Red Pilled America. I've been told it's the best storytelling show in the country. I wouldn't ever say that, but I've been told that. I do it with my wife, Adriana Cortez. We've been doing it since November 2018.
Right on.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, Tim.
We've got this person of color here, Luke Rutkowski.
Damn right. I was going to say not represent, appreciate.
Hold on real quick. This is my solution to the Little Mermaid thing. If they want a person of color to play Ariel in The Little Mermaid, just get a Polish person. Because according to the Coalition of Communities of Color, they are people of color, but they're also white, like Luke, with blonde hair and blue eyes.
You better recognize. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Rutkowski here of WeAreChange.org. It's good to be back. I'll be with you guys in the chat room during the show. And the shirt that I'm wearing right now depicts our uniter and chief saying, trust us, we're the good guys. Oh. And you can get the shirt on thebestpoliticalshirts.com because you do. I'm here. Thank you so much for having me. Ian, you're here.
Luke.
No one's peeing.
Welcome back, man. Finally, I'm on stage with Luke Rutkowski. Patrick, were you red pilled at some point?
I was. It was 2009, I think. Well, I think we've all been red pilled a bunch of times before we had the big red pill. But I think Obama was the thing that red pilled me. It was this socialist poster that went around. If you guys remember him being painted white as the Joker. And I remember seeing that around town. I had a house that was like walking distance from the Hollywood Bowl, and I was stunned that this socialism poster was all over the place, really early in his presidency. And they started calling the artist racist. And I was like, how is that racism? And then from there on, a couple months after that, there was this big moment on MSNBC. One of the biggest fake news moments that I had witnessed at that time was they had a guy that was carrying a rifle at a Obama healthcare rally, where he was basically trying to get everybody behind the universal healthcare that he was pushing in the mandate. And they have this camera on this guy, and you see his shirt, you see this rifle hanging from his shoulder, and they're saying, oh, this racist movement is coming after Obama, And a couple days later, it's when the blogosphere got really hot, and they started sleuthing it, and they found out the guy was black, that MSNBC purposefully cut out his skin color. And I saw that happening. I was stunned that a huge network like MSNBC would attempt to do something like that. And I think that was kind of it for me. I just kind of I flipped.
Right on.
Yeah, well, hey, we'll get deeper on the show, I'm sure. Lydia, I want to toss it over to ya.
Thank you, Ian. I am also here. Luke's shirt is great tonight. I'm so excited to be back with Luke and Ian. I feel like the gang's all here. Patrick's going to be awesome. I was talking to him before the show. It's going to be cool. Let's get going.
All right, we got the story from the National Review. The American people won. Biden celebrates Inflation Reduction Act as market plummets over August inflation news.
Oh boy.
So I don't know if they have photos, but they have all these people celebrating on the White House lawn. They're like, the Inflation Reduction Act, we did it. Meanwhile, everybody else on the internet is like, oh, take a look at that.
Oh, what is that?
Finn Twit,
crap.
what is this? All Things Finance tweets, this is not a cryptocurrency. It's the U.S.
my
stock
gosh.
market. Oh, man. And I don't even think that's the worst. That just shows like a 100-point fall off. The story from MarketWatch is the Dow Jones books near 1,300-point drop as stocks record worst day since June 2022. So bravo, Joe Biden. He's celebrating as everything's burning down around
This
him.
reminds me of that George Bush mission accomplished meme where he's standing on the aircraft carrier. It's like day 3 after the war on terror begins. And then, of course, it went on for 20 years.
This is a good one that Luke posted.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. I couldn't resist reposting it. But another thing we should really consider here is that a stock market is not the real kind of effect of an economy. The stock market is artificially inflated with the Federal Reserve printing money and giving it to many of these Wall Street companies. So even with the bailouts that were secretly given by the Federal Reserve to Wall Street, we are still seeing extremely negative impacts. And what we're seeing on the streets of the United States is way worse than what we're seeing on Wall Street. And these numbers, 8.3%, I mean, that's nothing compared to what you see out there in the real world, what you see out there in the grocery stores, and what you see out there with people and their rents.
Yeah, Ian brought something up before the show because we often talk about where all the workers at, and then Ian was like, they're homeless.
The homeless population is exploding right now, at least from what I've been learning about Los Angeles. You're from Los Angeles.
It's massive out there. I've been there my whole life in the suburbs of Los Angeles or in Los Angeles. And I was just telling you guys, I was saying earlier that we went to a play recently and we got off the freeway. First person we see is a naked person standing on a corner. Her breasts, and I was stunned how bad the homeless problem had gotten in Los Angeles, and it's more than just the weather. Florida doesn't have this same issue. I think has a lot to do with the ideology, a lot to do with rehab centers, using Obamacare and loopholes in Obamacare to bring patients out. But it's just gotten to a point where people just step over it now. They don't even think much about it, and it's a sad state of being. If you go over to the VA area over by UCLA, this is like one of the richest enclaves of Los Angeles. It's right there in Beverly Hills, and just tent after tent just going down the street outside the VA. And Los Angeles, the Los Angeles crowd just doesn't care much about it. They look the other way.
Even here, I was in town today. We don't have a big town where we live.
Which town? There's a couple.
The one out
West Virginia?
Yeah, in West
Charlestown.
Virginia, in Charlestown. And there's a homeless guy there.
Yep.
I never seen a homeless guy there, but he had a sign saying, "I don't want your money, I want a job." So seeing stuff like that, seeing people impacted so horribly, so negatively, and these people are celebrating, these people are giving victory speeches, these people are having musicians come to the White House lawn and play music and act like they did something great for the people. It's just such a smack in the face for anyone paying attention.
They live in a bubble.
I was thinking this Jackson, Mississippi water crisis should be #1 news in the world, or at least in the United States right now. Like a city, one of our greatest cities or largest cities, has no drinking water. They're on like a boil your water alert right now, and it could very well still be toxic. Maybe the economy, the inflation is probably the biggest story, but that people are just like have somewhat of a blind eye towards the fact that a city is struggling to have drinking water.
Have you seen the running water that they've been opening up on that? It's like comes out black and brown. To touch on your mission accomplished comment, I think they know they can do this because they don't have control of they have control, I should say, of the narrative machine. That Biden and them know that Hollywood's not going to come at them, the media is not going to come at them. This entire narrative machine is not going to call them out the same way that they did with Mission Impossible. I remember that time at Mission Impossible, and Bush got he got pulled over the coals on that for that comment. You're not going to see this happen with Biden because they do not have the same kind of pushback. This is why we see the Democrats can be so much more corrupt than the Republicans, because they have checks and balances on the Republicans through the media, through Hollywood, through the literary industry and what have you. So I think that's part of the reason why conservatives need to really, and the right or anyone from the anti-woke world needs to get into the culture game and start creating these institutions like what you're doing now, what you're doing with music. I applaud you guys for getting into this culture game, talking about culture all the time and creating the content, because otherwise they're just going to keep getting away with this kind of.
Yeah, I think about waking up and looking at Twitter, like what happened today, as opposed to waking up and making something and being like, this is what happened because I made it happen. Like getting up and looking around at like what's going on is kind of like a reactionary way to live. And we're really in a place where we need to create what's happening.
This is important too. You do need to talk about things. The media aspect is very, very important. But on top of that, the next layer is creating content, creating these culture movements. If you look back at movies like Jerry Maguire, for example, I love this movie. Okay, everybody saw it. There's this moment where Jerry Maguire is drunk and he grabs his assistant. And he rekeels, knowing that what he did was wrong. And he says, oh, I'm Clarence Thomas now. Oh, my God, I'm Clarence Thomas now. I'm Clarence Thomas now. They put those kinds of messages in all of their content, in all of their movies, in all of their TVs, just scene by scene, story by story, painting the other side in a certain way.
Yep.
And so I think that's why it's so important for us to get in this game, because we need to be able to push back on these people when they gaslight us on things like this inflation act.
Shout out to Tom McDonald's song Riot. If you guys haven't listened to it already, check it out. Download it on iTunes and check it out on Spotify. Because Tom's one of the leaders in anti-establishment. He's independent. He's producing his own media. This latest song is basically about him just like saying screw off to the establishment. And so I dig it. And I wanted to shout him out because you're completely right about winning a culture war. You need culture.
100%. It's what defines what it means to be American, right? Hollywood has been defining that for decades and decades. We've won wars politically, and this is the difference between, I think, the right and the left. The left thinks about success in decades. The right thinks about success in election cycles. And we're always talking about 2 years ahead, 2 years ahead, 2 years ahead, where the left is talking 10, 20, 30 years ahead. They are soaking in the seeds that they planted back in the 40s and 50s and 60s right now. This culture that we're seeing right now that that took over 2020 in the summer of riots, it didn't just happen overnight. They've been pushing this message out there through their music and through their films and through their television shows for years, that the Republicans are racist, that the rights are homophobes, that the rights are, womanizers and what have you. They've been doing that for decades.
But for what reason, right? So some people think it's like a bigger conspiracy, Marxists infiltrated the country or something like that. Or I wonder if it's just a cult chasing itself into, a spiral.
It is 100% a cult. We were in the belly of the beast for about 10 years. Our daughter went to this really prestigious private school. We were around studio heads, Hollywood studio heads, big actors, Jason Bateman, Melissa McCartney had a kid in our class, Scott, what's his name, that's on this new series. Anyways, bunch of celebrities. And we noticed very early on that it was a cult there, that they were this very insulated group. And there's this one moment where we caught this guy, you're not going to believe this, guys. We caught this guy getting in bed with other people's kids.
What?
Okay.
What?
5, 6, 7-year-old kids.
Oh my gosh.
The entire community of the school was behind us on this. We called him out. We said, what are you doing? This is dangerous. This is, at the very least, it's unsafe. He came at us and said he was going to sue us, connected to $1 billion family. We said, we're not backing down. There's nothing that you can say that's going to stop us from calling you out on this. The entire Hollywood community was behind us in this group, in this school. And he was smart. What he said was, they're Republicans. These guys are Republicans that are calling me out. overnight, this entire community turned on us.
Wow.
And that's the perfect example of a cult where there's certain kinds of groups that just have to be shunned from the group, and that's exactly what they did. It was a fascinating experience to watch.
Did the guy keep sleeping in a bed with kids
No,
after?
he stopped. He actually got it in writing from him that he was going to stop doing what was upsetting us. He wouldn't admit to that, but we laid it out in line items. You did this with, and it's 4 or 5 different kids.
Was it
I wouldn't trust the writing. I would just send them to jail. I mean,
Well, when you're in these communities, that you can get away with these kinds of things because they're billion-dollar families, and I think I'm convinced after this experience that kind of thing happens more often there than anywhere else. But it also shows this kind of sexualization of kids. It's coming out from these communities. It's coming out. They are the big pushers behind a lot of this kind of sexualization of kids out of this community. We see it in their television shows. We see it in their writing. They control the cultural blueprint through their screenwriting.
You see that? What's her name? Jeanette McCurdy. Was that the actress?
Yeah, the young actress.
Yeah, there's these she wrote a book about the weird abuse. Someone made a video compilation from her show or just Disney shows in general, and there's just weird stuff where like they have little girls' feet and they're like rubbing ketchup on it and stuff, like just really creepy stuff.
You see that stuff in cartoons all the time. I just saw a meme right now for a Shrek movie, and they literally had a meme where there was a very sexual thing. Just for a split second, you could see it. They're constantly embedding these kinds of things within their content.
Well, there's the old legends about Disney, right?
The Lion
Oh,
King.
yeah.
The
Of course.
Lion King, he lays down, it says sex, and then I think the official explanation was no, it says SFX. Is that what it was?
I don't
Something like that.
remember.
Then there's the cover of The Little Mermaid. Then there's Aladdin saying, what does he say? Good. What does he say? Something about
forget.
taking off your clothes.
Oh, geez.
there's a bunch of wieners everywhere. Let's just be real with each other. That's what it is. You know?
Isn't what like the Great Mouse Detective had something?
Did it? Oh, I didn't see that one. I don't think.
Yeah, I could be wrong because I learned all this from watching some like newgrounds.com video back in the day. But it was like under a carriage was a small like porn frame or something. I don't know if that's real, but that's like another part of the legend or whatever.
They've been working this stuff. We saw it in 2012 before the kind of whole transgender kind of movement started taking off in America. We saw it being pushed at this school pretty heavily. And then, of course, you see these major writers, writing these series, writing these movies, and they're part of this whole scene. And so I think that it's been embedded within the culture for a while. We always wonder, how do these things happen? They happen because we've allowed the left and the woke to monopolize all of these institutions that define what it means to be American. So, I think that's one of those kinds of things where the only way to fight back, the only way to push back is to create our own institutions and get our own messages out there.
Here's what we're doing. One of the things that we're working on here is, aside from music and Cast Castle, like all of the projects we've been working on have been apolitical. But one of the things we're doing is we're setting up a physical space, which will probably be, we want to do like a gaming space, board games, but we want to do events called Saturday Morning Cartoons, where Saturday mornings you bring your kids. There's like a buffet of like catering, pancakes, sausage, waffles, hash browns. And then we have like little arcade games, but we play cartoons that parents approve. So we can bring back that, we used to wake up on Saturday morning, watch the cartoons, and the cartoons weren't so bad. We want to bring that kind of thing back, and we want to create a place where neighbors can meet each other and hang out, build community, and build a culture around, where we live.
It's a gold rush right now, I think, as far as the way that they see this all happening at Disney and Netflix and what have you. They want other options. They just don't have the options out there. For so many years, I would tell people, do not, give money to these people's movies and their television shows. Don't subscribe. But then the pandemic hits, and now people are stuck at home. They have nothing to do. They have no other options. They need options.
We got to do Jack's Pizza Shack.
Jack's
Pizza Shack.
Oh, yeah, we do.
So big.
Yeah, Jack Posobiec, he talks about Pizza Hut nationalism.
Yeah.
And we drove past an old Pizza Hut and it was all falling apart. It was kind of sad. We didn't end up going. But maybe that's what we should do. We should set up, Jack's family-friendly pizza emporium or whatever, and then we can do community events, because that's another big aspect to community. So obviously we're doing the internet-based stuff. We want to build culture, but you can also build culture at the local level too.
Jack's been smart. Jack's been great about that.
Back to your point, the subliminal subconscious propaganda does work, and that's why they put these little messages in there. There's a reason advertisers spend hundreds of billions of dollars trying to get their messaging out there. And truly what happens with children, especially when it comes to Disney and all these other mega corporations and the images and the messages and really the propaganda deep down, when you really look at it, when you're able to take a step back, because when you watch entertainment, you usually go into your kind of reptilian brain. You don't think, you just kind of sit there and consume it. You're in this phase where you're just getting injected with entertainment. It's not entertainment. A lot of it is propaganda. A lot of it is programming that programs people to believe families are bad, to believe healthy relationships are bad. And as you said, to make children in this kind of state where, of course, they're going to be prevented from having healthy relationships in the future. But the culture is extremely important. We have to fight back. I think memes are also extremely important, like the meme that Tim just showed just a couple of moments ago. But there's another meme that I saw today to bring this back to the conversation that we originally had here. And it was of a Deutsche dog in the 1920s saying, I lost my house, I lost my job, I lost my savings, I lost everything. And then you have the Giga Chad Deutsche dog in 2020 saying, I never had any of those things. and when you're seeing messages like that and memes like that, it resonates with people because I never had savings. Oh yes, I don't have a house. Yes, I don't have a real job. I have this gig economy created by Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum that literally is just screwing me over and not giving me any kind of benefits or anything that could actually sustain me as a human being. So memes, I think, are super, super important.
100%.
Luke came to me before the show, and he was talking about he was unhappy, and I said, "Have you considered owning nothing?"
Oh, yeah.
Things are looking up.
On a simplistic hippie Ian level, that can work.
Actually, yeah.
With minimalism, I live in an RV, so I went into the whole minimalistic aspect. It's still impossible to pack that whole thing. But in the bigger element, yes. But what they mean from it is essentially human slavery, which they're slowly conditioning us to be okay with by getting rid of our financial ability to prosper or have any kind of legitimate, healthy lifestyle. So when you're seeing people getting screwed over, I mean, these inflation numbers, these are just the official numbers. They don't represent what actually is happening out there in the real world. Since last year, groceries went up 13.5%. Rent went up 6.7%. Airline fares, 13.4%. Electricity, 15.8%. That's a lot higher than the 8.3% reported just in August. What's happening out there is a total bloodbath. The poorest people of the world are being screwed over, are literally just taken by their feet and shaken by all these globalists, by all these leaders that just want everything from them. And it's disgusting and it's sad. And the poverty, the homelessness, the suffering is created by politicians. And because we don't see what's going on, because we're divided, because we're conquered, we're allowing this to happen more and more.
Somebody just super chatted a correction. They said it's Disney's The Rescuers. It has a frame with a woman in the window, full frontal, Snopes.
Oh,
blah, blah, blah. I just think about where we've gotten to, with everything Luke said. I'm hearing, all this economic stuff, and then I'm thinking about what you said and imagining just like all ages drag shows, and I'm just like, Rome is burning, man.
100%.
So I kind of feel like, what you can do is scream as you fall to the earth, or you can enjoy, your skydiving,
Learn to fly.
and then, I guess, do a couple somersaults.
Or you can evolve and
aim
turn
for a
those
tree.
squirrel thing creatures that can end up gliding themselves out of the way.
You can scream and panic, or you can aim for those trees.
Aim for the bushes.
Yeah.
Aim for the
Yeah,
bushes.
use your body as a glider mechanism.
Yeah, I've heard people have survived their shoots failing, falling into trees and stuff. So
I've seen those stories.
Maybe.
The American revolutionaries had to fight a war to seize their property back from the king, or basically retain or gain the rights to their own property that the king had seized from them, however you want to look at it. And to think that we might go back there is really bothering me. I don't like that Black Rock or Blackstone has been able to purchase property. I don't think it should be constitutionally legal for megacorps to buy property. That doesn't make sense to me. Maybe not single family homes. But
I would say you hit the nail on the head with the hammer, except for the might part. I mean, look at the rate at which we're taxed. So they were concerned about much less taxes back then than we get taxed today, and it's getting worse. So, man, it's crazy to think about this idea that after the American Revolution, You owned land. That was it. You owned land. Now you can't own land without paying 1,000,001 taxes.
I think the real indicator is whether we're going to just into a civil war or not. And we've talked about this on Red Pill America a lot. We've actually did an episode on it. We believe that we're venturing towards that area. We agree with you on that. I think the difference is, or what we're seeing right now, if you look at the American Revolution or you look at the actual Civil War in the mid-1800s, why did those things happen? They happened because the people that were fighting didn't have political recourse. There was nothing that they could do from a political standpoint to change the things that they were trying to change. In the 1776, it was they didn't have it was taxation without representation. In the middle 1800s, it was we don't have rights, we're slaves. Are we seeing that now? Is that what we're seeing? Is that there's no political ability to solve our problems? That's the real question I think that we're starting to ask ourselves right now. With people talking about voter fraud and those kinds of things, if people start to believe that they do not have the political pathway to solve their problem, they turn to violence. And that we've seen that throughout American history. So that's really the temperature that we really need to be gauging is, do people feel that they can change things in the voting booth?
Those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable.
Exactly.
So if people, look, you've got, we'll get into this in a little bit, but Lindsey Graham is basically sabotaging the Republicans right before the election.
Cool.
He's pushing out this 15-week abortion ban, which is it's not going to pass. It's impossible. Republicans don't have the House, the Senate, or the executive branch, so this just makes no sense to do. If people start to feel like there is no path towards any kind of political solution, you're right, they're going to lose their minds and it's going to get bad. But I have to wonder if this is what they want. Before a midterm election, get everybody riled up and angry so that they can sabotage.
Of course, it's what he wants, I believe, and I think that the people that are going to be backing him on this. I mean, culturally, is there anything culturally that's pulling him into making this decision? I mean, it's that old saying that Andrew Breitbart made popular: politics is downstream of culture. Mm-hmm. The only time that you can create legislation like this is if the culture asks for it. You can try to create it and you could force it down people's throats, but the decision already has to be made by the American people for that to stand. And Lindsey Graham, I think, is off on this. I don't think culturally right now. I mean, the whole thing with Roe v. Wade and why we were so happy about it, I consider myself pro-life. But the reason why we were so happy about it is because we were throwing it back to the states and we were allowing states to make their decision. And now he comes along and says, no, now we're going to, enforce this on a federal level. And he has to understand that this is going to rile up the left. He has to understand it. I mean, just logic will tell you that.
I really am not a big fan of that guy. No. He's like a strong-arm authoritarian. I don't know why he's still in Congress.
Let's jump to this story from Insider. Cardi B is furious about how expensive everything has gotten. How are people surviving? I want to know.
That's a good question.
Cardi B is right. And I would say that Cardi B, man, this is probably a very important barometer for the political temperature in this country. When establishment mainstream celebrities who, you mentioned in a previous segment, they're supposed to be with the left. Basically, the left has control of the narrative. The Democrats do. When they're coming out and being like, nah, everything's bad, and Joe Biden's celebrating on the White House lawn, they're losing control. It's getting so hot out there. It's getting so crazy that regular people are starting to say like, yo, this can't work. I think Democrats should be particularly worried about what happens in November when you get prominent celebrities being like, hey, this sucks.
That's why they had, I think, the rally today, is they know that their backs are against the wall. They're in the corner on this. They're trying to gaslight everybody on the subject. But when you are touching Cardi B on issues like this and any kind of pop culture icons like that, I think that you're in serious trouble. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, regular people, you can't ignore it anymore. Now you're going to get a whole bunch of people who are going to be like, yes, queen. Like, they don't even know. They don't even care. All they know is that she came out. We shouted out Flecka's talks. He has these videos where they go and ask people questions on the street. I don't know if you've seen them.
Yes, of course.
And it's just that people are just mind-numbingly dumb. And it's really disheartening. But while it is edited, of course, and I've done men on the street interviews. Most people are not this stupid. What happens is they'll go out, they'll film a bunch of people and take the stupidest ones and make a video. And it's kind of depressing. But of those dumb people that you see in those videos, they're the kind of people they're going to hear Cardi B and go, yeah, it is bad. I'm going to vote how she says.
I've seen those videos as well where they ask people to ask, who is this president or who is our first president? They can't name them, but they can also name every single name of the Kardashians.
Right.
So Cardi B is going to hit the right nerve on something like this. But I don't think, how do you fight? How do you not see what is happening right now? I don't think many people pay attention. I think that they're relying on that and they're counting on people to not be paying attention to what's, the prices that are happening right now. It's way worse than it's being published because they've changed the barometers to calculate inflation. If you use the same numbers from the late 70s, which is kind of analogous, it's way
World
worse
War
than
II.
It was, and that was just an incredible time to live through. The gas lines that happened at that time, the prices were shooting up like crazy. Interest rates, we're complaining about interest rates now. Interest rates got to 14%. I think it was above 14% at that time.
Like late 80s, wasn't it like 20?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, we're complaining about it now. We're just getting into this right now. This inflation thing, we're just getting started on it.
Weimar Germany, baby.
Yeah, regarding people not paying attention, is this why, like in the Soviet Union, they went after intelligentsia and they tried to take that strata out? Is because those were the people that could see the nonsense, like they could see the lie?
They were the dissidents, and that's why why the left sees their arts and music and TV as so valuable, is because they are the ones that are pushing that message out there. They start to lose little strands like Cardi B, and that you start to see the wall break down. And we're in an amazing time. Like, I don't want to put like fear porn out there. We live in a time now where shows like this exist, where barriers are being erased that were up before. There was 20 years ago, you couldn't create a movie and hope to get any distribution because there was no streaming. The technology wasn't there to push that thing out there. We live in a time now where we can actually just create something from our iPhone and put it out there into the world. So we have the tools to fight back on this. But I think the left has understood I think there's a hole almost in conservatism. There's a fatal flaw in conservatism, and I consider myself a conservative, that they haven't seen this coming for many, many years. They allowed this to happen. They allowed each one of these institutions to be taken over. I think that there needs to be some kind of a reformation movement within the conservative movement to fully grasp this. And you guys are talking about it all the time. I praise you guys for doing that. Thank you for doing that. You're surprisingly in the minority in the anti-woke world. Not a lot of people talk about it. I don't think they feel like it's in their wheelhouse.
When you talk about, or sometimes the metaphor fighting back and the culture war comes up, but the difference is in a real war, in a hot arms war, you actually do fight back. There's like devastation on both sides, and whoever gets destroyed, the other person wins. But in a culture war, the way to win is to maintain positivity and to include essentially everyone. Like, you're not shutting things down. As soon as you start becoming the aggressor, the cultists don't want anything to do with you. So you have to stay almost like ignorantly positive. It's very challenging for really intelligent, logical people, because when you look around and you see things in pain, it's hard to ignore it or pretend like things are still really good. But that's what people want to hear, and that's what taps into their feelings.
Everybody should play Civilization. You ever play Civilization?
No,
video game. Was Sid Meier's Civilization?
Yeah.
As I pronounce it. They're on 6 right now, and there's several ways to win. You start as a nomadic tribe, you build cities, eventually you have borders, eventually your borders are pressing on other people's borders. Brilliant game. I've been playing it my whole life since Civilization 2. And you can win through a cultural victory. If you have cultural dominance over the planet, everybody just wants to be what you are, you win. The other thing that can happen is if your culture is so dominating, it can actually push the borders and annex cities and from other countries. So while it's a video game, understand this idea is rooted in real life. When you start getting cultural permeation, when American culture starts seeping into, say, the Soviet Union, people then start demanding what other people have. You end up with a Pizza Hut commercial with, was it Gorbachev? And he's like eating the pizza backwards. And then they're like, he brought Pizza Hut, yay. That's what happens when your culture starts dominating other countries. Your own citizens start saying, we don't like you, we like them. For example, when the war with Ukraine broke out, Russian influencers were crying because they were getting banned on Instagram. So these are children of Russian officials with millions of followers being like, no, my life, I want to be American. That's a devastating thing to destroy your country when your own children are begging to be a part of a different country.
I was getting the vibe. With
Absolutely. Just really quickly, culture is key. And I actually did what you described before. I had a picture of Kim Kardashian and George Washington, and I went to the streets of Times Square, and I was like, who's who? A lot of people got the Kardashians. Not a lot of people got the presidents. And just one more point, Ian, before I let you go here. Another thing that I really wanted to bring up specifically around this topic is that I sacrificed my well-being, and I listened to this Cardi B rant on Instagram. And she does talk about how she helps a lot of people and how even helping people is very difficult for her because more and more people need help now more than ever. She talks about how properties have gone up. She talks about how rents have gone up. And she talks about how do people deal if they don't have a quote, a Cardi B in their life. And she legitimately asked that question. She made it about her. She also addressed Joe Biden. And she said, everyone's coming at me because I've supported Joe Biden and I campaigned for him. And she said, this is happening all over the world. This is happening because of the pandemic. And she specifically addressed Biden in this to make sure that she was still okay in the party establishment in the kind of sphere. So,
but
I did it. I wasn't happy I did it, but I listened to the rant.
No, you should. People should listen. You don't have to be unhappy. I think it was right of her for her to call out all the problems. We got the story from TMZ. She visited her old middle school and donated $100,000. I think Cardi B's rad.
Cool.
I think that's fantastic. I don't like her music, but that's no big deal.
And she complained years ago about taxes as
Yeah, I
well too.
remember.
That was a big deal.
You see, look at
my money.
You gotta sweet talk and be like, taxation is theft. And then could you imagine?
I don't think I would sweet talk Cardi B.
She comes out. She comes out with WATIT taxation. Wet ass taxation is theft.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, oh man, somebody red pilled Cardi B.
Oh, no, did you see the Clintons talk about that? Oh no, you don't want to see it.
That'd just be tit. It'd just be tit. Taxation is theft.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, she made that
taxation
song.
is theft.
Yeah.
There's shirts already made
I'm
like that
sure.
years ago that I saw.
Dude.
Sure.
Those things never go well, though. What was the guy, Stephen Colbert, that did the shot one where all the shots were bouncing
gosh,
around?
yeah.
Like when you force those kinds of messages in there. But I do see. Here's
But
the
he
thing
wasn't self-aware. That's the problem. Like when making a taxation is theft song as a joke because it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Then it's funny. But Colbert was serious.
We can get Cardi B, though. If we can pull her over if she sees an ecosystem that she can survive in and still do what she does.
Yeah.
But when she doesn't, when we all the time we get these little percolations of people popping up, Macy Gray kind of coming out and saying, I know what a woman is da da da, and then having to a couple days later completely backtrack from that because she's afraid. There are so many people in Hollywood that think about certain topics the way that we would think and we would kind of approach, but they are afraid because there's a monopolistic industry that they're trying to operate within.
We can only do so much, but this is why we're making music. For one, I've made music my whole life. So we got Carter Banks, who also makes music. That's what we can do. If I was a construction guy, I'd start an anti-woke construction companies.
Mm-hmm.
If I was a cartoonist, that's what we'd be doing. Seamus, he does that. We need to create a space where someone can eventually be like, I don't need to work for you because you're woke and insane. That other company is offering an opportunity and I can go work there. So I'm not worried about speaking up.
100%.
Yeah, I think that Cardi B is ready because I remember her commenting about how she felt like she hadn't genuinely been herself since she became famous. She said, if you're given the choice between becoming rich or becoming famous, just be rich. Don't be famous. It's terrible. It's stifling. And I was like, oh, it sounds like you're ready for like a change of scenery. Maybe we can make this happen.
She's right though, man.
Yeah.
She's seeing it. She's seeing it. I think she's gotten to a level of success now where she is seeing the world in a different way. And we just need to kind of close the deal with people like that.
Yeah, I often talk about, why don't people do more? There's so many anti-woke people with power and wealth, and they're like, what are they doing? They don't do it that you wish they would do more. And then what you end up seeing is people like Mackenzie Bezos takes billions of dollars from her divorce settlement and then invests it in critical race theory, gender theory, all this woke stuff. And then I'm just like, where are the anti-woke, the libertarian, and the right with massive... I mean, Luke, how many Bitcoin millionaires do you know? And where are they at? What are they doing, huh? Why aren't they making TV shows?
Working in McDonald's now with the dip.
Ooh, holding, I guess.
Yeah, holding a lot of them. I think a lot of people do get involved, but a lot of people are also afraid to get involved. I think the culture that we're living in is one where they try to scare people from not speaking out, not getting involved. And I think that's the biggest aspect of control that the system and establishment has on everyone else. Is this kind of paranoia, is this low vibrational fear that keeps them in control and keeps them from being able to fully express themselves and live their truest lives. So there is a big aspect of it that we need to show people, hey, it's safe out there, everything's fine, it's okay. You could even confront a politician, you could cuss them out, you could tell them out, you could tell them exactly how you feel, you could speak your truths, and it'll be okay and it'll be fine, and the world would be a better place if people would just stop pretending that they're somebody else and that they should be okay and that they should be in the confines of what they think is okay and not. I think that's the biggest fallacy we're facing.
There's a real problem with fame. Like you were saying, who was it that, was
Cardi
it Cardi?
B?
And
Yeah.
Steve Martin said the same thing. If you could be rich or famous, just take rich, don't be famous. It's the brave. People come in here and they're like, Tim, you're brave. Like, that's what, being famous, if you don't have the money to have 6 armed guards surrounding you like a hexagon at all times, like, which is insane anyway, no one really does that. Like, dude, it's this culture of crowds and mobs that form around someone because they love them or they hate them. Mobs can go haywire really fast if there's an explosion or if someone screams or if a boulder falls down the hill. Like, that alone, that's the non-emotion. Like, there is a danger of being famous.
Finish.
Go for it. That's about it.
I wanted to say, like, I remember when I was younger and people would say the same thing. If you could choose rich or famous, be rich. I remember I was on a rooftop in Illinois with a bunch of like investors and like local politicians for some reason. Don't ask me. I have no idea how I ended up there. And they were saying like the biggest mistake people make is they think, being fame is a path to something. In reality, it's exposure, it's risk. And I was thinking about that, especially now, because we have like just a plethora of stalkers, both love and hate.
A plethora, yay.
And love and hate, it's both extremely dangerous. Then you also have different kinds of stalkers. You have the hater stalkers who make things up and are insane and just like think I'm stealing their spoons. There was somebody who tweeted that I went to their house thousands of miles away at 2 a.m. and turned their TVs on and woke them up.
Why'd you
and then
do that?
the other stalkers all believe it
Oh my gosh.
because they're just genuinely nuts. But then you have the stepping stone stalkers. People who think that they too can be rich and famous if only they could get you to give them the chance or give them money. And then it's a crazy experience. It's a crazy discovery. And I got to tell you, man, you read these stories about what happens when people win the lottery and how everyone comes out of the woodwork. Oh, bro, it is worse than the stories you hear. When people talk about the stalkers, these celebrities don't tell you the truth about how bad the stalking really is because it would make it worse. But I'll tell you, whatever you think is going on with these celebrities and these stalker stories, it's actually 100 times worse, substantially worse.
Yeah.
I wish we could put together like a documentary and just show exactly how bad it is. We've been swatted 13 times. 13. And where's the FBI? No idea. What can they really do? And it still just gets crazier. The bigger this show gets, the more successful we are, the crazier things have gotten.
Yeah. From my experiences, one of the best things you could do is not to give these people any attention because that's usually what they're after. And that's what they love. They love getting an impact. They love being heard about. They love being talked about. So I dealt with this for a while. It's not convenient, but it's the price we pay. And to add to your comment, Ian, what you were saying about the groups and going crazy, Friedrich Nietzsche had a perfect comment about this when he said, in individuals, insanity is rare, but in groups, parties, and nations, it is the rule. And I think when he said that, he hit the nail on the head to what's happening right now in the larger microcosm of American politics. I think people are suffering. I think we're dealing with a nutritional health crisis. I think we're dealing with a financial crisis. I think we're dealing with a cultural crisis. I think the crap that they're putting out as entertainment that really is propaganda is just unwatchable in many instances. It's disgusting in many instances. And I think we're seeing the unraveling of our society, and hopefully something new comes from all of this, and new people come in with better ideas and don't create a great reset, as some people would say, but build out of the old something new, something better, because we need it more than ever.
They're going to try and push central bank currencies, and they're going to switch us from proof of work to proof of stake for the crypto. So instead of having proof of work, which is the more processor power you have to make your Bitcoins, it's going to be proof of stake. The more Bitcoin you own, the more money you're going to make. So they're trying to move us to a rich get richer system with proof of stake. It's very dystopian. It's really annoying. And they're going to try and do the mass censorship. I don't know, man.
Let's
go for it. Let's
jump to this next story, man. From TVLine.com, Emmys hits all-time audience low.
Good.
Wow.
Good.
The end is nigh.
Did you watch it?
I didn't even know what happened.
Yeah, I didn't know.
I
Hold on.
watched it.
For those of you that are listening right now, send in your chats and super chats. Did you know the Emmys even happened?
Like one or
I did not
did
know.
not.
I had no clue.
And
and
it
idea.
was not in anyone's feeds. I mean,
Yeah.
you would see
Nobody was
typically
tweeting
see the
about
clips.
it.
Nobody was tweeting about it. I watched it because I feel like I have to watch those kinds of things. It was.
I'm sorry you had to do that.
sorry.
There was a moment where I told my wife, Adriana, I'm like, we can't do this. She goes, no, we got to keep watching. We got to keep watching. It was a cringe fest. Just one thing after the other. It's so infused into and saturated. It's just saturated into everything that they do. The awards they give, the shows they give, shows that should have easily won were lost out to the most woke show. I mean, it's just, I think it's just part of that. The reason why those ratings are so low. That's why we have such a great opportunity right now.
Well, I kind of think that the system is collapsing, and it's more apparent to me than I think to the average person for a few reasons. I don't know if it's going to recover. So we got a bunch of Times Square billboards. We did this over the summer. We went nuts. We had like 25 ads just like dominating the space. It was awesome. And a lot of people were like, that's crazy. How could you afford that? And then I'm just like, bro, it costs $20 to run an ad in Times Square. One time. Yeah, so like, and you can get even cheaper. There's some smaller ads, like still big screens, like $7. And they'll say like you got to buy at least 20 of them or whatever. So it's a couple $100 and then it'll run for the day. That's a lot cheaper than people realize. And the reason, it's done. Like the foot traffic is down. There's no impact anymore. There's no cultural references. There's no cultural cohesion. So even having the ads doesn't do anything. It's just a statement being made. And I thought about it. And I'm like, here we are. We did it. We're here in the center of American culture. And we made our point. But we were only able to because the system has decayed to the point where it used to be that there were so many big companies with tens of millions of dollars that they were all competing for these spaces. The prices were super high. Now, nobody wants them. Now they're like some of the billboards in there are turned off. So off.
Interesting.
And I'm like, hey, that one that's off, can I get that one? We ended up getting the entire billboard to ourselves. Wow. So we also ended up hitting number 2 on Billboard digital sales. And you know what? We sold 12,520 songs in 1 week. That's number 2. 12,000.
Interesting.
That's it.
Interesting.
It used to be 100, 200, 500,000 sold. Now, I get it. We're in a different kind of economy with streaming music. But it's not just about, nobody's encouraging. I mean, you can check this up to the rental economy and you will own nothing and you'll be happy. But my point is, we are able to stand atop the ruins. We're able to be like, look how well we're doing, only because the system has collapsed. Like if we had a show this big 10 years ago, we would not be getting top, singles and music or Times Square. But because the system has just broken down and fallen apart, we can climb on the rubble and be like, I am king of the rubble. And everyone's like, yeah. And then we're like, ha ha.
I would have thought those would have gone for tens of thousands of dollars that you could not get out of an ad for less than $100,000 for something like that.
Well, so like if you want to get the big tower, they do it on like a week by week basis and it's like $600,000 per week. But most of the billboards, they're big, but they're not that big. It's like you can have a run all day for a couple grand and you can actually schedule like 20 ad placements to span over one day over, they'll play like once every other minute for a few hours and it'll cost you $200. It's just that the demand is gone. Not only that, but like small businesses have been wiped out, so ad revenue is collapsing. I look at the Emmys and it's like American culture is being erased. These things that we used to all be interested in and talk about, just gone. And without that, what happens? You end up, I'll just say, in a big leap, civil war. Because when you have completely disparate cultures that don't like each other, that don't care about each other, and aren't concerned about offending each other, they can say whatever they want about each other. It used to be that you were like, okay, I better not say that, what's the famous apocryphal quote from Michael Jordan? Conservatives buy shoes too, right? Mm-hmm. Why don't you get conservatives buy shoes too, man? Nowadays, it's like, I don't want their money anyway, so I'll rag on them, and hopefully that'll make more of the woke left buy my stuff, or the inverse. Now you've got Democrats and Republicans refusing to debate each other. You've got Katie Hobbs. She won't debate Carrie Lake. But you got, who is it? Herschel Walker, is that his name? He's not going to debate...
Warnock.
Warnock, there you go. And so the reality is, what's to be gained? The hyperpolarization is so intense, you only face risk by actually coming together. So a Republican's going to come out and be like, I'm not going to get any of these Democrat votes. Why bother talking to them? And the Democrats going to be like, I'm not going to get a Republican vote. Why bother talking to them? Because it's not even about the policy. It's about Democrats are bad or Republicans are bad. In which case, it is what it is. The chips have fallen where they're going to fall. Let's see who wins the election. Everything is fractured. And it is sooner or later, people are going to just demonize each other to the point where they're fighting in the streets. I mean, it probably already happened. It's like already happening, actually.
We're seeing it. I mean, I don't know if it's just because of social media that we're seeing so much more of this kind of violence happening, or, in Los Angeles, I mean, you can't go a day without seeing somebody walk into a restaurant while people are eating with a gun and putting a gun to their head and taking money from them. I think you're right. The social cohesion. There is what event on a national scale now is considered something that is kind of must-see, that's this cultural kind of phenomenon that brings everybody together. Even the NFL now is broken down. I mean, the whole advertising thing used to be a huge thing where we would sit down and watch the advertisements, which advertisement is the best. And now it's just we're constantly being bombarded with the wokeness on any of these things. So there's no cohesion, there's no culture. And a lot of that had to do, I believe, with this illegal immigration problem that we've been dealing with now since at least the 70s, where there's no entry that where people have to say, okay, this is what American is, and this is what I bought into, and I'm signing on to this. I am buying into the American dream, into the American culture, into what it means to be American. We've lost that entirely. We lost it through Pledge of Allegiances in schools, where we used to sing these kinds of things on a regular basis when I was growing up. Now you don't see those kinds of things happen so much anymore. We've lost this cultural cohesion, and I think that you're right. It is leading to more and more violence, and social media is helping instigate it and trigger it even more.
The next big thing to just shatter and destroy American culture will be when they have, in like the NFL and the NBA, forced diversity. When they say stuff like, hey, these rules are arbitrary. Why don't we mandate that half the team be women? Sooner or later,
it's going to happen.
Wokeness has already hit sports, and the weird left cult has already hit sports. Sooner or later, they're going to come out and be like, we made these rules up, right? It's discriminatory that your team is all male.
Yeah,
and then you're going to have the NBA. It's like going to be half men and half women, and it's going to be
the sports
dudes
thing
are going to be the one doing all the work.
It's so much harder to get away with it in sports. I just saw another meme to reference the memes you're talking about. I saw a meme where this woman broke the deadlifting record, and it was 634 pounds or something, and then somebody quickly followed that up with, a man's record is 1,100 pounds.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I mean, there's the difference between men and women when it comes to these kinds of things. I mean, and women have their thing. I prefer watching women tennis than men's tennis because the rallying, it's just a little bit more of an exciting game to watch. So there's, not to say that there isn't a place for women in sports or what have you, but the difference between the sexes when it comes to sports is just drastic.
I think the tennis thing, I don't really mind. I think it's entertaining when it's like Serena or who was that other guy when they smash their racket and scream and rage.
That's McEnroe.
McEnroe. Yeah, that's what we're here for. Everybody knows nobody actually enjoys watching tennis. We're just waiting for them to smash their racket. It's like, I'm kidding, by the way, but it's like NASCAR. They say that everyone's just waiting for a car to crash or something, and I'm like, no, not really. Because I don't think that happens all the time. No, but yeah, man. So according to this TV Line article, it says that Emmys hit an all-time audience low opposite the most watched Monday Night Football since 2009. I think they're saying Monday Night Football, right?
Yeah.
MNF?
Yeah.
Who was that? Was that the Browns?
I don't know, but I was talking to somebody about the state of culture and media a while ago, and they said that sports will be the last to go because sports is something that can't be rerun. Like, you can watch an old game to see what's up, but for the most part, you need the live here and now show for what matters. With TV shows, I'm watching Breaking Bad right now. I'm on season 5, and it's a 10-year-old show. So most people have already seen it, but I'm like, if I haven't seen it, it's new to me.
Yeah, you were saying
you can't go watch old NFL games and be like, ooh, like you could, I guess.
You were saying you watched the Emmys, Patrick, and I was like, my thought was, did you watch it on 1.5 speed? Because I have no interest, but that would mean you had to wait till it's already done to go back and watch it at 1.5 speed.
We watched it live.
There's just no there's no rush to the show anymore because I'd rather watch it later, faster.
And it just didn't represent America and the American experience at all. And they've gone overboard. The whole thing with the Oscars so white. I think Hollywood really took that to heart. And honestly, it felt like we were watching the BET Awards. It was just this crazy recorrection. And I've talked to screenwriters about this, the way Hollywood is. They are getting fed up with it. They can't work anymore. And we're talking about very successful showrunners of huge shows on HBO and NBC and what have you, and I've been hearing this complaint since 2012. So this has been going on for 10 years there, where they cannot get work if their skin is white. And so you're seeing that this constant infiltration in Hollywood. That's why we keep going back to the same thing. We have this gold rush right now in regards to being able to get in there and make stuff because people are dying for it.
Let's jump to this story from Bounding into Comics.
Wait, before we do that, there's also some breaking news people are talking about in the chat room
What is
of
that?
the MyPillow guy getting raided by the FBI.
What?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is
Not
so
surprising.
this is the story that's coming out right
Breaking
now, that he
news.
was tracked down by the FBI on a hunting trip, surrounded in his car, and had his cell phone seized. So that's the story that some people in the chat room have been letting me know. I just wanted to bring it up at a point where we didn't kind of move on from the next story, but
Let's pull this up. Let's pull this up from the Daily
this is
Beast.
crazy. Holy
Mike
crap.
Lindell, Feds seized my cell phone at Hardee's. At Hardee's.
Hardee's, where's this guy
Can a
at?
man enjoy a burger?
Where is he?
Just near Hardee's.
Lindell also posted a subpoena on what appears to be a search warrant. So this is breaking news. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell told the Daily Beast on Tuesday night that the FBI seized his cell phone while he was at a Hardee's restaurant. He posted on social media a grand jury subpoena from a federal prosecutor in Colorado who appears to be a search warrant. The FBI had no immediate comment. So, well, I don't know, man. What else can be said? It's the system's busted. It's falling apart.
They are looking to do what they did to Nixon and all of his crew and his cohorts. We're doing a multiple part series on Nixon, and it's fascinating the parallels between what's happening in that right now with Trump and all the Trump circle and what happened to Nixon back in the day. And the more that they can dirty everyone that's around him, they scare people from getting involved within the community, within his culture, within his circle of politics. They dirty him up to be able to go and run for a next election. I think that's what this entire thing is about. It's the narrative machine in action. Scare everybody that's associated with Trump. He is going to have a hard time getting good people because of that. Constantly paint him and any associate that he has as a criminal. You don't think that we're going to see perp walk ads when the election comes?
Oh, yeah, with
we
Bannon.
are going to
Yep.
see perp walk ads. They are going, and I said this back in the Jan 6 time frame, that Trump, we're going to see Trump perp walked. And people thought that it was nuts when I said that. Oh, it's not going to happen. He is going to get perp walked. They want that image,
Yep.
so they could put it
Whether
in
it
an ad.
stands or not, it doesn't
Whether
matter.
it doesn't
The image.
matter, it's the image.
We got a video here. Of Mike Lindell. So we will play this video. I think this might be the video.
Today, the FBI.
All right, let's quiet that down a little bit, Mike. You're pretty loud. Sorry about that.
Today, the FBI. You're going to hear this, and you're probably already hearing it in the news. The FBI came after me and took my phone. They surrounded me at a Hardee's and took my phone that I run all my business, everything with. They could have just. What they've done is weaponize the FBI. It's disgusting. I don't have a computer. Everything I do have that phone. Everything was on there, and they told me not to tell anybody. Here's an order don't tell anybody. Okay, I won't. Well, I am. So
They perp walked Steve Bannon over $1 million.
Yep.
BLM's been accused of stealing more than that. The leaders, the founders, and stuff like that. Nothing.
And wasn't he pardoned? I mean, how is that even
look,
happening?
we're in a civil war. So, you know what? No, I should take that back. We're in a revolution. Civil war implies that there's factions fighting each other. But right now, the FBI is just rounding people up, and it appears to be extra legal.
Yeah, there's an attempted revolution from the liberal world order to the new world order. I gotta say that clearly: liberal world order to a new world order, and it seems like some people in the American government are complicit. I don't have proof. It just seems like it.
That's a bit beyond where I'm at. I'm just saying the Democrats don't want to lose. They want power. They're scared of Trump, and they've weaponized the DOJ to go after anybody who might help Trump. We saw this in 2018 when the big tech companies started banning prominent influencers who helped Trump win, notably Alex Jones. They purged him all at the exact same time. Alex Jones is now on trial again for defamation, and it's like it seems to be going the same way. They're like, oh, you're not allowed to defense and things like that. You're refusing to send out to turn over proper information. Now they're going after, Steve Bannon said this, 35 prominent Trump supporters. Dark days is an understatement. If I don't know what happens, but typically when you look at history and you see things like this, we're looking at probably something more like a Bolshevik style revolution. I mean, maybe that's too much, but what's more likely than civil war at this point is just uniparty arrests, the purging of political rivals, the evisceration of anyone who's supporting the ideology, and just totalitarian uniparty. So, you can have a civil war when two factions fight over control of one government, or in the United States, it was one faction trying to leave a government. Or you can have a revolution where one group seizes control, uses it to immediately purge and wipe out their opponents, and then take over.
Tucker Carlson called this a full-blown political purge, and he's not wrong. I mean, look at what's happening here. I mean, what will the My Pillow guy do to you? What kind of threat is he to you? Who is he going to hurt? What did he do? What did they get away with?
He's got money.
I know, but from the average person watching this who's not into politics, seeing this right now, a lot of people are asking themselves this question. Obviously, this is very political, but they're still trying to say that this is somehow justified, that the DOJ is going after bad people, that they're going after criminals, but there's not even a shred of evidence to suggest this, because from the average point of view, what effect is he having? Like, did they steal something? No, they didn't. They didn't get away with anything. Were they able to lie or cheat? And no, they don't. There's nothing of that. I think this is a large phishing operation. I think they're looking for whatever they could get, and going through someone's phone, going through someone's cell phones and laptops and computers and all of their documents. They're just hoping someone slipped up and made some kind of mistake. And if they did, we're going to be hearing about it till the end of days now.
Seems like,
they're also trying to scare advertisers as well too. He's one of the biggest kind of known advertiser on the right, funds a lot of different shows, a lot of different podcasts, and they're trying to send a message out there as well that, if you guys try to enter into this arena, if you guys try to appeal to the right, we're going to come at you. A lot of people don't talk about this so much, but how completely leftist the advertising community is. They have controlled the digital platforms that distribute these advertisements. They've gotten conservative websites kicked off of these advertising networks for years and years and years. So there's so many different things kind of in play here. They want everyone that touched Trump to look dirty. They want to scare advertisers, to scare away funding for shows. It's really a smart play if you think about it. These people that we're dealing with are not stupid. They understand the imagery. They understand what it means to have Bannon walk down perp walked. They understand the power of the imageries. They've been doing this since the civil rights era, getting pictures of dogs in front of civil rights activists and hoses being shot on them. So I think that's what this is doing. They're feeding their narrative machine with this stuff so that they can scare the right.
Yeah, I was getting the sense that it's the people that were saying that the election was stolen and that they have proof, but then the proof never came out, and they're like, it's coming, just wait 3 months and then it'll be there. Lindell and Bannon are really hard on that. They're really bullish. But what I don't get is, who cares? Let them say it. That's part of democracy. We're allowed to yell stuff at each other. Biden's the president. Let's secure the elections by having open source voting systems.
They did it for 4 years with the Russian accusations with Trump when Trump won, and now it's just mind-boggling to see what's happening here, because it's so dangerous for everyone involved here. I wasn't a Trump supporter. I didn't back him. I criticized him, but still, it doesn't matter to a lot of people, because now even calling this out automatically labels me as some kind of Trump supporter when I'm not.
That's the point, and that's the other side of it. Is I was ready to be past Trump. I was a Trump supporter. I was ready to be done. Then all this stuff starts to hit. And all they're doing is pulling these people out that were done with him and ready to move on to a DeSantis or what have you. They're pulling them back in. They pulled me back in that regard. I'm not sure if it's the right play, but they think they know what they're doing.
Like scratching a mosquito bite because it feels good.
Tucker's talking about
told
it.
you last night that the Biden administration has politicized law enforcement to the point where it feels Soviet, and we were not overstating it. The FBI has just raided the guy who sells pillows on this channel, not because the pillows were bad, but because they don't like who we voted for.
It'd be funny if the FBI was like, well, the pillows actually are really good. Use promo code POSTA.
That'd be great.
Use promo code FBI.
Yeah.
Promo code Gulag.
Tucker
Your
Lindell,
gulags.
known as the Pillow Guy, reports on his live stream, Lindell TV, that FBI agents located him, questioned him, showed him their badges, and asked him questions about Colorado and Dominion voting machines, and then provided him with a warrant to seize his cell phone.
And he says, we're FBI. I said, show me your badges. So they show one badge. I said, how about yours? Because I don't trust anybody. Like, there's bad people. Well, they do that, and they said, what do you want? And he says, we need to talk to you. So I pull over, and
Mike Lindell said he initially told those agents he would not surrender his phone because he does not have a computer and runs all of his businesses off of that phone. Lindell published on his live stream what he claims was the warrant for that phone. We do not have Lindell's account confirmed right now, but we will be looking into it and keeping you updated, Tucker.
Oh.
So maybe it's bunk. I don't know, but I kind of believe the pillow guy. Like, this is a story I don't think he just makes up, especially considering Bannon came out, said 35 people were hit. Then we got official confirmation that 40 subpoenas had been sent out. The subpoenas probably included Mike Lindell. Why wouldn't they? I mean, he's one of the most vocal supporters of Donald Trump.
He also didn't he fund some kind of a program to look into the election fraud and what have you?
He did a big symposium or something about it.
Yeah.
Tucker actually talked about the people who are named on that list last night, and he talked about one person who organized a rally and how the FBI raided the daughter of this person who organized a rally, and how they weren't even involved in politics. They weren't even involved in politicians. They were just someone involved in getting people to do political rallies. And they were the ones that were raided by FBI officials, coming at their door, knocking on their door, and of course intervening in their life and watching every single move they make very carefully. And the information, especially with how the DOJ has been recently handling it, most likely is going to be leaked to the media, as of course there's a lot of things that routinely are not supposed to make it out there to the general public through these investigations that smear people, that attack people. There's phone records, there's text messages, there's things about individuals' personal lives that always make it out there. And this is the weaponization of the DOJ that, of course, is going out there and going after people that they don't like because of their political opinions and ideas. I don't even agree with those political opinions and ideas, but this is such a dangerous move because it endangers everyone here. This is meant to set a chilling factor, and it is scaring some people.
If you ever wondered what it was like to be living in, any one of these historical nations before the emergence of the authoritarian regimes, be it North Korea or Weimar Germany or Russia or China or whatever, you're living in it. This is how it starts. And man, I really got to wonder. I wonder if the COVID lockdowns were kind of a dry run. Will people submit to unconstitutional lockdowns and the destruction of their lives? And they found the answer was yes, overwhelmingly.
It was nuts how the Roman Republic just turned into an empire. You go from a republic to an empire. That seems really extreme. I was just reading about the British monarchy and the king. It's a hot topic right now. And he can take control. He can disband parliament. I mean, they say he won't because Elizabeth never did, but he can. And all he's got to do is claim an emergency. But what's an emergency? A flood? An earthquake? Someone saying the wrong thing on social media?
Spilling your tea.
Yeah, the way they use the word emergency these days, how many emergency acts has Biden going right now? We have 45 states of emergency or some. We were looking up some number, over 25 current.
Yeah. Tons of emergencies, mostly foreign policy, I think.
Yeah, and some of it's about Iraq. You're like, what the hell? We've been out of Iraq. Iraq's
what
not an
emergency are we as
anymore.
American citizens facing because of what's happening in that country?
And so if the king were to seize power and become the sole monarch of England, of Britain all of a sudden, and then they try and emulate that over here with
Try.
Yeah, I know.
They're doing
It's disturbing. It doesn't. But I mean, it's totally possible. It's feasible. That's the problem.
California is still in a state of emergency to this day. It still has that because they do not want to relinquish the power. The second that they were able to implement this power grab, and we've seen it time and time again. Anytime these, the Bushes did it with the Patriot Act. Anytime this power is given to the government, they never let go of it. And the thing that's been the difference is that the right is not as good at enforcing their power. The left are masters at it. They have figured out ways to be able to use the government in ways that they've accused Trump of doing when Trump was in office.
Let's pull up this story here from Timcast.com. Senator Lindsey Graham proposes nationwide 15-week abortion ban. Graham said the legislation is comparable to abortion regulations in 47 European countries. The Republicans don't have the Senate, the House, or the executive branch, so there's no point in introducing this bill other than to virtue signal or sabotage the Republicans right before the midterm election. I mean, you can argue that maybe he's like, look, we're going to do this. If you vote for us, we will do this, because that will rally not just Democrats, but also Republicans. But Republicans are already angry. They're already ready to vote out Democrats. Democrats are the ones who need to be riled up. So it seems like Lindsey Graham is just sabotaging the Republicans.
I think he's an insulated guy. Like, he's insulated in his echo chamber and thinks that he's doing moral good by what he believes, that he really believes and wants that.
I don't agree with you. He's an establishment neocon that has been always toting the line of the party establishment, no matter what it is. And he always is on the tip of the sphere when it comes to pushing this larger agenda that screws everyone else over. It wouldn't surprise me if this was a bigger play to screw over, the big part of the Republican Party that is set to allegedly win in this upcoming election. You look at how, the abortion ruling by the Supreme Court mobilized a whole bunch of activists, a whole bunch of people to get active inside of Democratic states and cities all throughout the United States. Why bring up this issue when, of course, this is only showing the enemy your move, even if it's that? But I don't think it's that. I think it's what Tim is asserting it is, and I think this is a deliberate action to shoot in the foot the kind of populist uprising that he wants to quail.
So you think he wants Trump or any Republican to fail so that the liberal economic order can seize control, and so he's just shoving a nail in it with this?
Well, this is going to mobilize, I think, a lot of people. And I think if you look at his voting record, it's always been not just, Republican or Democratic. It's always been pro-establishment, pro-ruling party, pro-billionaire class, pro-World Economic Forum. He has always voted along those particular lines. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's now intervening, as many people like Joe Rogan are telling people to go vote Republican. And I think this is going to have an effect on it.
Sabotage.
I think you're right on that.
Yeah,
I
to
think
think that someone would sabotage their own political party is very, very weird.
But he's not aligned with the populist Republicans. He's aligned with neocons.
The Democrats.
He's had a history of that. I mean, look at Liz Cheney. I mean, she's a Republican. She was. Is there anybody that has sabotaged the MAGA movement more, or tried to sabotage the MAGA movement more than her? I mean, I think he is an establishment guy that tends to go along, like McCain did, with the Democrats on certain kinds of issues, and this just doesn't make any sense. It goes against the entire argument for Roe v. Wade and getting rid of it, was to give this off to the states and allow states to make up their own mind on this. That was the argument from the right. And now he's completely usurping that. He's saying, no, we actually want more than that. And to do this right now before an election, I mean, does he have some kind of polling numbers that say something different? I don't know. I think we saw what happened in Kansas when they put it on the bill. They put an amendment. I think it was Kansas. It was Kansas. Where they put the abortion bill on their amendment and it ended up getting voted down, resoundingly voted down.
He's helping Democrats. That's simple.
100%.
Because now every single Democrat is going to have campaign ads saying Senator Lindsey Graham wants a nationwide abortion ban. And they got it.
I guess if like cultural military, wargaming here, if you had a country and there was a revolt in one of your cities and you couldn't get the rebels out of your city, that you would scorched earth the city and burn it all down, even though it's your city. So if he's afraid that the MAGA have taken over the Republican Party, that he would sabotage the Republican Party. That's not out of the realm of possibility.
No, it's not. And if they do not have the red wave that so many on the right are hoping for, what does that say? Who ends up benefiting from that? I think it ends up being, I think Trump ends up not benefiting from that, and the establishment Republicans, they've done with illegal immigration for years. They misrepresent or they misinterpret an election outcome to benefit their own positions. And they've done it with illegal immigration in the past where somebody would lose and they'd say, oh, okay, that was because they took a hard line against illegal immigration. We need to go amnesty the way that the left is doing. And Lindsey is a perfect example of somebody that's completely bought into the establishment.
Lindsey is also really good friends with Joe Biden, and again said that Joe Biden is a good man, as quote, as God has ever created. So he's been very anti-Trump, very anti-populist, very pro John McCain, neocon, neoconservative, trying to start foreign wars every chance, every instance he gets. So he's definitely not working in the interest of the American people. He's working towards the interest of the military-industrial complex and the ruling party, since the connection with Biden is very clear with him, and Biden being in the Senate for 720 years now, they had a very long, cozy relationship.
Yeah, he was in the Roman Senate.
Yep.
It's true, yeah.
Right. Going all the way back.
I wonder if Lindsey was bullied when he was a kid, because it kind of feels like this is what someone that's like the target of being bullied grows up, and then they get power, and then they become a bully.
Yeah.
What's the problem with bullying, man?
Well, he's just an evil guy. Just evil. Man, in my younger days, I did not believe in good and evil. I was just like, no, I think it's people are trying their best, but they just disagree on how you go about things. And then you get into an industry like this, and you're like, oh no, they're evil. They're literally just evil.
The crazy thing is when people believe they're doing good, because like everybody thinks they're the hero in their own story. So when people believe they're doing good while they're doing evil acts, it's really crazy.
But I think some of them are just evil. So like I used to think that. I used to think everybody was the hero of their own story, and then I was like, wow. And then you start to realize, no, some people are evil.
Some of them are just like, how much collateral damage can we sustain to
They
get our
told me this
accomplishment?
at Occupy Wall Street. They said, don't you want to just watch it all burn? And I said, not really. And they're like, well, whatever.
I was thinking about 9/11, and if that really was perpetrated by someone other than who we think it was, or even if there was more involvement than what we were told, that they're like, how many people can we kill and destroy in order to get a war going so that we can start profiting in the Middle East?
So it's beyond that. And I think when we talk about a larger spiritual, energetic war, I think there's more reality to this that's very hard to quantify in words, because there are individuals in our society, just like the new science advisor in the Biden administration, that literally takes all of his human liquids and writes demonic words on walls with them in order to summon demons, and does things like spirit cooking
Wait, who's
with
doing that?
Abramovich Podesta.
Tony Podesta, that's John's brother. He's pretty crazy, I've heard.
Yeah, there's John Podesta that, of course, does the
my
spirit
favorite
cooking.
My favorite meme
Paintings.
was the police sketch of the people who kidnapped that little girl. And it just, you not seen this?
Oh yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah, the police sketch of like, here's the people of interest in the case of this missing young girl, and it looks just like the Podesta brothers.
Yes, exactly like that.
Yeah.
Like there's even a mole on the face. It's like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah, Tony, John's brother, John just got tapped for Biden's, what's his position now in the Biden administration? John's in there now.
Ooh, really?
You remember
Yeah,
what Andrew
His
Breitbart
brother.
said?
What did you say?
You guys
these
don't
guys?
know?
No.
You guys
I
don't know what
remember.
Bring it
Breitbart
up.
said?
Yeah.
About Podesta?
Uh-huh.
But
No,
Tony has been known to be like a wild one.
Yes.
And that's John's
Well, the
brother. You can't
painting-
control what your brother does, but that's still like, I don't know how connected
They have a
John is.
consulting group that, of course, works.
Andrew Breitbart tweeted February 4th, 2011, how Prague guru John Podesta isn't a household name as world-class underage sex slave op cover-upper defending unspeakable dregs escapes me.
Oh my.
Wow.
That's a lot
Very crazy thing for a man to say.
That's
I
the
like
thing,
this.
man. When
Back
you're,
in the day when no one knew who Podesta was.
when you're
Right.
connected to the Secretary of State like he was with Hillary, you've got access to all the information of what's going on. He might have known if Tony was doing stuff, and like, it's his brother. So like, well, do you have your brother arrested? I mean, in a just society, yes, but in a nepotistic thing, we see maybe not.
Well, they ran a consulting group together that worked with a lot of foreign governments, that worked with Saudi Arabia, that worked with a lot of despots. And if you look at the work that they've done, it's really kind of scary and eye-opening how much influence that they had. They were pretty much the right-hand man for Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. And those are some dirty hands to have.
John Podesta was?
Yes, John Podesta
Group.
specifically. I interviewed John Podesta before. He's also big into aliens and UFOs, lots of weird stuff with him, and the paintings and the art that they have.
Very
We could
weird.
go down a rabbit hole. That's
What if the reality is that aliens just run things,
Aliens.
and that explains everything.
That's the next false
I
flag,
think
according to Eddie Bravo.
Every one of these politicians are aliens. They've been allowed to stay in this for too long. Not everyone.
None of the politicians are aliens.
They're lizards?
They're just getting the
they're human
directions.
beings, and there are aliens who are like, we run this. You're a chicken coop, and you do as you're told.
And then you
Honestly, I don't
incentivize
literally
them.
believe this. Media matters, but
They've been
I'm
in power for too long. We did this thing recently where we're looking for clips from the 1972 election, and I'm looking at election night footage, and who are they talking about? Joe Biden.
Yeah.
1972.
Cow.
50 years ago, this guy has been in this. And when you're in D.C. for that long, you understand all the loopholes, all the ins and outs, the positions that you need to make money, to flow money to the big guy, to how to get your family in there and bifurcate, investigations and what have you. There are smart people that have been in D.C. for a very long time that have become evil.
This is my fun conspiracy theory joke, that the answer to Fermi's paradox is that aliens do exist. They did come here. They've taken over, and the reason we're seeing such weird and rapid changes to our culture and society is because the point at which they began is the point at which the aliens showed them and said, all right, we're taking over. You can't stop us. We have laser guns. And then the world leaders were like, well, okay, I guess. A good example of the fun thought is an episode of Stargate SG-1 where, for those that are familiar with it, basically there's a planet. It's very advanced. And then the people living there don't realize that they had already been secretly conquered by the evil alien race or whatever. And so everything seems to be normal, but then they find out actually the government was being run by an invading species or whatever. So, fun conspiracy.
Are the aliens just having fun with us?
No. Like, I was thinking, you guys are familiar with Fermi's paradox?
Yes.
So
What is that? Explain that really quick.
So it's basically, if the universe is so vast and expansive, then alien life surely must exist. And if so, why haven't we encountered it? Here are the potential theories or hypotheses as to why we have encountered intelligent life. And there's things like the Great Filter, which is that any sufficiently intelligent life eventually wipes itself out. There's I forgot what some of the names of these are, but some of them are that
Suns basically bursting beforehand, cataclysmic events that take out.
Well, that's basically the Great Filter, like the life gets wiped out. But there's also things like the universe is so big and so vast that life never appears at the same time as each other, or it's so incredibly rare. So there's a bunch of different ideas. And my hypothetical answer is that aliens are abundant, and considering the size and scope of the universe, mastering massive hyperspeed travel, and we're a bunch of monkeys on a small primitive planet, and so we're a chicken coop.
I don't see why aliens would have to be our size. I could imagine that they're larger than our solar
Or
system.
smaller.
Yeah.
Or smaller.
Yeah.
And we're beasts of burden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They need specialists with digits that can build little hardware and stuff for them. So
It sounds like what you're saying, because there was one of the biggest and earliest media hoaxes was in the early 1800s, where I think it was the New York Sun did an article on the moon having Batmen. And it was huge. They did like all of these stories on it, and they cited some London study and to validate this. So it sounds to me like what you're saying is that story was actually not a hoax. That something
I'm just kidding though. Like, I think the reality is corrupt people do corrupt things and burn everything to the ground. Like, we're tracking like the Roman Empire. It's similar, and so we can look to history and say, hey, things like this just happen.
I was thinking today, would you let yourself die to make everyone else's life better?
Do you think
would you like today? I have a hard time saying yes to that, because I'm like, those people, what did they do for me? What do I, we're the collective.
Made it personal. If you said, okay, this family member, your daughter, your wife, for a second. I've actually seen a video on this recently where they basically asked women that question. Would you die for your husband or for your boyfriend? And to a T, I know it's edited, so maybe they didn't all say that, but every single one of them said, no, I would not.
And the men said
Really?
They asked the men, and all of the men said yes.
Well, come on. Look, I got chickens outside. And if a fox is lurking up, the rooster will run full speed, sacrificing its life to save the hens. And the hens will all go run to safety.
Yep.
He'll die.
Yeah.
That's just the way nature is, man. That's why it's what it is. I got a question, though. Do you guys think that if you knew the collapse of the Roman Empire was coming, would you, as an individual, be able to have stopped it?
No,
I don't think so.
At that period of history, no way. Maybe with an internet.
So the
if you have
question
a time
is now,
machine and know exactly how everything happens, maybe you could intervene and have some kind of impact on it,
I
or
don't think
delay
so.
it significantly.
I don't think so. I think there's too many things happening at one time. And, if that's the case, is the collapse of America inevitable? And no action that we could do is going to change that.
But it always has
have
to
different
start
tools.
somewhere and then snowball. So if you could go back in time and stop the snowball.
Stop the crossing of the Rubicon.
Yeah.
Well, it was really stopping the
Exactly.
expansion of the Roman state because it got so big that the technology couldn't support the infrastructure and they had to split in half. And then at that point, it was just downhill.
Well, I
from
thought the
there.
2020 election was that kind of that inflection point where you saw the entire country burn, and how somebody can vote for the party that created that chaos was stunning to me. So have we crossed that point where we can't reverse? I can't think otherwise, but that we can change it and that we have the tools to do it, and that we have the ability to do it, because otherwise, we have no hope.
No, I don't think there's no hope. I think the system is crumbling before us, but it doesn't mean that we're going to suffer. It just means that the world around us will change substantially, and we are going to have to rebuild from the ashes. I don't see it as a bad thing.
The people not paying attention will suffer. The people who are ignorant and don't know what's going on will suffer.
Everybody watching this show is going to be all right, I guess, because they bought all of their food at safeandreadymeals.com.
I think that they do want to put people in pods and link them into the metaverse and somehow extract heat from their body for electricity and just sedate a large population.
That's the Matrix.
I get it, but that doesn't actually work. The extracting heat from your body for energy.
Piezoelectric juice. I don't know. I mean, they're going to try and find a way to harvest some sort of value.
Piezoelectric juice?
Piezoelectric is when you harness vibration to create an electrical current.
Okay.
So the body's own, your bones are made of hydroxyapatite, which is a crystal, a vibrating crystal, for instance. And if you could somehow harness the vibration to get electricity out of it, and if you're in a fluid that's really sensitive to vibration, and you create a static charge just by being inside of it. I would imagine rather than kill everybody off, they're going to try and extract value from the human body.
The environmentalists are going to find some way for that not to be renewable, and argue against it and protest against it. We've been having renewable things renewable technology and nuclear for 30, 40 years, and they've been fighting it for that long as well.
Because constantly feeding people is a big weight on the system, and that's what the World Economic Forum is interested in not doing. They want to do that less. That's why they're we want to slow the growth of population, and a lot of it's because they don't think they can feed it properly.
So do you think what's happening right now in regards to the hitting of the supply chain and what have you, do you think it's part of a design? Do you think that this is actually something that the World Economic Forum and those kinds of globalist overlords are the ones that are causing a lot of this supply chain issue?
Yeah, only in that when I think about the electricity system, why are we still on a centralized electricity grid when there are options for localized fusion reactors or fission reactors or local power systems like they have in Africa and a lot of places where everybody's got solar on their roof, but they've kept us connected to the grid because that's the power structure. The city controls if I have electricity or not. So maybe that they're doing that with food too. That's the only reason why I think that maybe the food's also involved in that. Mm-hmm. Food and electricity, man, if you can control those, you control a nation.
So is the reality that there is no great crisis, but they're manufacturing it all so that they can centralize and control the human population?
Yeah. Scarcity.
Probably. The way they reacted to COVID was insane. They gave us the
nuts.
2 weeks to slow the spread, but then when we realized people's eyes weren't bleeding like we thought, where was the spread was done? Okay, let's open it back up now. Mm-hmm. But instead they went the other direction.
We fought a civil war with smallpox that had a death rate of 40%. And we fought through it. We didn't stop everything. We didn't say, okay, we have to bend the curve on this. Things kept going. People kept doing what they were doing. But in this sense, it was we allowed communism to seep right into. How many people would we have allowed to enter into the force and die to fight communism from coming into the United States? How many Americans would we said, okay, that's worth it to stop Chinese communism from coming into the United States? 100,000, 200,000, 5 million? We allowed it to come in through this pandemic. It just came right in, and we all just put a mask on our face and stayed in home. And it was the most brilliant execution. If you're a theorist, if you're a conspiracy theorist, it was the most brilliant execution to bring communism and to do a test run on it. Then the pandemic was.
Klaus Schwab wrote a book called COVID-19: The Great Reset. He conflated the two things. What do those have anything to do with each other unless he wants to make them connected?
He talks about it. He says that this is our opportunity to enact the Great Reset.
Did you see that they ran that simulation in 2019 about what to do if there was a global pandemic?
Event 301.
Event 301. They were ready for it. Like really, really ready for it
I
right
think
before it
they're
happened.
constantly ready for crises because I think they understand that's when they can make cultural moves. That's when they can make these huge, sweeping cultural changes. Is they're waiting for a crisis. If the crisis doesn't come, they manufacture it. And they take advantage of those moments. You see it throughout history. Every time these crises come along, they try to make these moves and they try to make these cultural changes. And I think that COVID was the perfect example.
And I think it's multi-layered. I think it's not just COVID. I think the plan is even bigger than that, because when COVID first hit, I was just screaming on my YouTube channel, hey, the economy is going to get hit even way worse than this. And I think they calculated this because they deliberately shut down small mom and pop businesses. They allowed Walmart to be open. Grandma down the street had cops bang down, bust down her door, shut down her business because she dared to even be open when she was running an online business. Having that kind of activity absolutely destroyed the middle class, the working class, and I think this was deliberate. I think a lot of the scarcity is artificial, and I think when you have scarcity, you're able to have control over populations. And I think right now when it comes to the food sector, the energy sector, we're seeing deliberate compromises of those systems in order to bring in more control for the ruling party. That's just my own personal opinion and perspective from how I've been seeing it and where things are going.
Ever since I learned about, I worked at Ground Zero on 9/11. I actually worked in the American Express building across the street from the pile from like October to December, and I would sit in this blown out building. Explode. The walls were blown out. The windows were blown out. I was like, I guess when a building falls, all the surrounding buildings windows get blown out. Then later I start to find out, oh, maybe there's more concussive forces at play. You start to look. The way they butchered National Institute of Standards and Technology, butchered the investigation into that thing and just shipped off the steel to China. They didn't invest. And then there's all these like scientists and engineers come out and say, well, there was trace amounts of nanothermite found in the dust. You look at the buildings fall, they're falling in near free fall, which indicates a demolition. But this silence, the radio silence on this, makes me think that people are complicit. I don't know what else to think. I don't know who, but it doesn't. That wouldn't just happen on accident. We're detectives, man. We've got the CIA. Look into this. Why did those things seem to fall in near free fall speed?
I've seen so many. I haven't gotten dug deep down into that world. I almost feel like
Ian, it's simple, as they explained. When the fires weakened the steel, the weight of the upper floors caused it to pancake, creating an exponential increase in force. When the floor hits another floor, it goes.
Yeah. So you would expect to see the pancaking, but that doesn't happen. The whole thing just falls.
Well, you wouldn't from all the debris and all. So you can actually you can. There's blasts coming out of the windows, and it's funny because people are like, "Aha, those are explosions," and or it's the pressure.
When the firemen are like, "There's a bombs going off on the building, pop, 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 all the way up," and you're like, "What are they talking about?"
So
bombs.
I gotta stop you. This is what I don't like about conspiracy theories. When news reports came out on the day, and it was a lot of conjecture and confusion and no one knew what was going on, the conspiracy theorists tend to take that and go, wow, that proves something else happened. And I'm like, or it proves that you had no idea what the hell was going on.
Unfortunately, I cannot prove what happened. Well, that's not my goal.
There's a great group called Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth, and they garnered thousands of professionals in the field, and they break it down more scientifically, and they explain things through logic, science, and data, while, of course, NIST and all these other government officials have been hiding a lot of the data and not highlighting it to them.
I just want to make one point on this because, I don't think we're going to be able to tackle this. Maybe we'll talk about it in the after show, actually. We'll go in real great detail. I have a conspiracy theory. You guys want to hear it?
Oh, yeah.
During the construction of the World Trade Towers, we're a country that operates on the lowest bidder. So there's a famous quote. I can't remember which astronaut said this. They said, what was going through your mind before that rocket went off into space? And he said that it was built by the lowest bidder. So I imagine this, it's a point I make to a lot of conspiracy theorists because people will say stuff, they think like 9/11 was an inside job or something. And I say, okay, I hear you. Why choose that conspiracy theory over the other conspiracy theory? That in the 70s, when they were building this, a construction company, the Port Authority, whatever, they said, we can build this for X million dollars. And they were like, wow, that's cheaper than the other guy. The project is yours. Then the VP, goes to the CFO and he's like, are you nuts? We can't build this structure this big for that price. Don't worry about it. We'll skimp on the stresses in the center. A plane's never going to hit this building. And so they rip off $30 million from the budget so they can get the job done. And then when it gets hit, it falls. Granted, I know there's a lot of interesting things we'll talk about, but I'll put it this way. I think people will choose their end result instead of starting from the questions and then trying to understand what happened. And that's the issue I take with it. I got no issue of, I'll tell you this. First and foremost, 9/11, it was a conspiracy. Either you believe it was a conspiracy between, these Saudi nationals, these Egyptians, and these men to commit this act, or you think it was government actors, or at the very least, they knew it was coming and didn't care. Either way, a conspiracy occurred that day. From that point, we should start asking questions about what happened, why did it happen, how did it happen. Unfortunately, we have two camps that have, I'm not saying only two camps, but we have two dominant camps. One saying we know what happened, the other saying we know what happened. And I'm kind of like, the reality is the government's not going to tell you what's going to happen. There's no way the government would ever tell you the truth about 9/11. No sane, rational person would believe it. Because, simply put, they can't reveal how we got attacked if we did. Assume, we got attacked on 9/11. They're not going to come and be like, oh, here's exactly how they did it. Let me explain for you. Why? So it can be replicated? No, they were probably freaking out. But there's a lot of questions.
But they did, though. They said exactly. Guys with box cutters came in, did this.
What
and
I'm
this
saying is, of course, that's not true because there's no way they could reveal the classified information as to what really happened. So no sane person would believe that story, that it's an outright depiction of truth. Now, of course, the media will tell you that only a crazy person would challenge that. But come on, be real. You think the government would come out and be like, here's the classified secrets as to how 3,000 people were killed that day? No, they wouldn't. They'll tell you a story. Some of it may be true, but no responsible member of our government would come out and tell you exactly how we got attacked. If
Rand
we were
Paul would.
Attacked.
I know you would, Rand. Tell me the truth.
Well, let's do this. Let's talk about that stuff in the members show and go to Super Chats
And
now.
just a quick fact check. I said event 301. It's actually event 201.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Oh, he was wrong.
I was wrong. I was
Fake
wrong
news.
about that.
Event 201 is where they
That's
ran
how you do it, mainstream media. You admit you were wrong. It's easy. You could do it.
Event 201 is where they ran a simulation on a global pandemic in 2019.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting.
So, Luke, because you made one mistake, you're hereby fake news. Just one. That's all that matters.
Fuck
You get no.
I admit to it. I made my mistake.
The media can lie, cheat, and steal all day, and they're called real news. But
Event 201's wild. I didn't know about it till after COVID was rolling.
Wait
for a while.
until you learn about their cyber warfare programs.
let's talk
and
about
events.
Let's go into all that stuff in
Right.
the members only show. Huh? How about that? We got to go to Super Chats otherwise.
Cyber Polygon.
All right. What do we got here? Keystone Comet says, had to go to the channel page to find the stream. No notifications for at least 2 days. Didn't even see it on my subscription page today.
Rude.
And we can actually see that in the analytics. So the analytics have been, it's obvious they're screwing with us, dude. We're 2 months out for the election. If you want to support the show, knowing this... Shit, whoa.
That's
What
hilarious.
just happened? Did you turn the power off?
No, I think I pulled a
UFO is
cord.
down. Oh my god.
UFO
is crash landed.
Dun, dun,
Smash the
dun.
like button right now. Share the show on all platforms if you can, because they're going to start, shadow banning us. I'm pretty sure my Instagram's shadow banned.
Yeah, 'tis the season.
You posted
Election
one too
season.
many spicy memes.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
what I did.
I posted like Michael Malice was like, I'm pro women's choice and pro science. That's why I'm pro national divorce. And then I posted it, and it's like getting no likes, like a bunch of my posts.
Welcome to the club. I've been at like 107K followers for like months. I grew, and then out of nowhere, it just stagnated. And it's been like that for like around a year. It's crazy.
Meta's the most highly policed of all those social
Yeah.
networks.
Heron Gaming News says Ian is a national treasure.
Oh, smack.
A national treasure, man.
Holler.
Tom Wolf says the Inflation Reduction Act is just a bunch of coupons for Green New Deal products.
It's true.
And the IRS budget.
Yeah.
Sideways says, I was so happy in 2019 when I had a 1B, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and attached garage at $1,100 a month. Went up by $400 since, and I've
my
been back
gosh.
in mom's for a year plus now.
I'm so jealous that you paid that little in rent. That's crazy. I'm very sorry you had to move home. That sucks.
Man,
Jeez.
crazy days, man. Jeremy Wien says, somebody should send a fiddle signed Nero to Biden.
Yeah.
Aha.
They had a concert. Yeah.
You know what the weird thing is that people are telling us they're not getting notifications for the show. It comes and goes in waves, and it's weird. I can't imagine it's an accident. At the same time, though, our segments from the shows are doing really, really well. So I wonder if the clips don't have the full shows. So I wonder if they're like trying to mask that our analytics are still up, but the live show is down and the clips are up.
If you want to get it, make sure you click the bell button in addition to the subscribe button. Maybe you can unclick it and click it again to refresh it in the algorithm. I don't know. Leaving a comment on the video, I think, also probably tells the algorithm that you want to see it more.
We're working on
an
an
push
app.
it up.
We're working on a mobile app. But maybe we should come up with a browser extension called notifications. Yeah. Well, you know, we should do this. We should totally, yeah.
Where you
install-
actually see the content that you subscribe to?
Exactly.
Yep.
And then like you'll have a browser
Crazy.
extension, and then whenever one of your show, like you'll put in there like, here are the shows that I like, and then it'll boop and pop up and show you the shows.
Yeah, I would love a TV guide type. Like
Yeah.
that. We're working on that with the charity thing, although it's not technically a charity right now. It's just a bunch of developers working on it. But we're putting like a, kind of like a Google calendar type thing, but for all your subscribed content where you can see what's coming.
Triton54 says, my Timcast, the way I like it. Hot, spicy wings with a side of pierogies and psychedelic mushrooms topped off with some Sour Patch Kids.
There you go.
And not an effing baked potato with sight.
That sounds gross, honestly.
I
Holy
I
crap.
would
You ragging
wanna
on
be-
Seamus?
Yeah, he was.
That's rude.
I like that super chat. I approve 100%.
That sounds like a horrible meal. What are you talking about?
Mass Jen aside, clever name, says, Luke, your timing is impeccable. You are back just in time for me to send those effing quarterly taxes out. Cries and pounds on the table. Yes. Tax.
R.I.P..
Quarterly tax day is coming up in a couple days. So anybody who runs a business knows how fun's that can be.
It's fun.
So much
Yep.
fun.
Yeah, we have like vendors who are hitting us up, telling us like, hey, would you like to extend this, extend that? And I'm just like, it's tax month. We have no budget. The government gets our money. Don't you know how this works?
You could totally see too in subscriptions, like around the tax time, you see a literal dip around those moments. We've seen it in our.
Well, this is quarterly, so it's like the people who run businesses. The average person is working like a standard. What is like?
They're not seeing it.
Yeah, they don't. They see tax day in April, but for people who run businesses, every quarter you got a tax day. Slane Hope says, I've lived in LA for 43 years and it's never been this bad. They tax the heck out of weed sales and you don't see any of that reflected in city spending. The more they tax, the less they accomplish. Then why still live there, man?
And the gas right now over there is almost $5.60. When I was driving, I was so jealous when I was driving in here. I saw $3.30 or something on the way in here. California
You still
taxes
over there?
is
What are you doing?
nuts.
You got to get out.
My family's there. So it's kind of a hard thing to leave. We looked into leaving, but we didn't.
Like extended family.
Yeah, grandparents.
The weather's nice. I will say that. You're in LA, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the weather's really nice
Yes.
down there.
Antonio says, shout out to some anti-woke bands that don't get brought up here. Check out Stained. Aaron Lewis is very pro-freedom and
Love
anti-woke.
Stained, yep.
Eric July's metal band Backwards song, a great equalizer. Very cool. Check it out.
Yeah, Eric does have a band. Cool.
Right on. Jay Marie says, Patrick, I absolutely love Red Pilled. I am an ex-gang member Vato from the inner city, doing my part creating non-political content and also do a philosophical podcast. I think the fans will like J. Marie Thesis Podcast. Cool. Rad. Glad to hear it.
Very cool.
Tyler Bozanovsky says, perhaps Luke should be cast as the Little Merman.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I'm okay.
You're good.
Luke, come on.
Okay.
You're Luke's our diversity cast member.
I
Yeah.
am. I'm
He's
one of the
diversity hire.
only
It's true.
Because he's
people
more
here.
See,
Yeah,
I may be mixed race,
Don't laugh.
but Luke,
Why are you
White's a-
laughing
white's a
for?
color.
Excuse me,
White's a color.
Mr. Red Pill Man. I
White's a color.
don't like the humor here.
see, Luke is 100% person of color. I'm mixed.
Damn right.
Literal. This is like from last
That's what I
year,
said,
right? Didn't they
damn right.
change that? And they said now
Yeah.
Polish people are people of
Slavic
color?
people.
Slavic
Yeah.
people.
So that's my solution to
The
Little
same
Mermaid.
color as me, Luke.
Luke's,
Very, very similar.
Luke's got blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yeah, it's great.
Represent.
I love it.
We're a minority.
That's right.
We are.
That's right.
They said that last night on the Emmys.
Yeah.
They actually said it last night on the Emmys that we are now the majority and you are the minority.
Oh,
It was some
perfect.
person of color, legitimate person of color. Not
Perfect.
legitimate, I should say, the standard person of color.
Randy Schoshenmayer says rail unions might go on strike Friday. Biden, big fan of the rail unions, might deny our right to strike. No contract in 3 years. Wage increase is not close to inflation. Looking for attendance policy. We work 24/7 schedule.
Wow.
It's coming down. When
Oh,
the
boy.
rails shut down, you ain't going to have any food. People don't get it. They don't understand, man. Dark days indeed. Louis Zalea says, Tim, did you see that Michael Knowles reviewed Will of the People on his show today?
Oh, cool.
The song left him speechless,
Oh.
which is the title of his book, Speechless,
Okay.
Controlling Words, Controlling Minds. A couple people were saying that. Did he
great.
he reviewed the song, I
I
guess?
didn't hear
Oh,
that.
cool.
I usually listen to him, and I didn't hear that one.
Yeah.
listen.
Or maybe he mentioned it and people are just, tricking me into reading a promo for his book.
Yeah, possible.
But you can do two things. You can add Will of the People and Only Ever Wanted on Spotify to your playlists and just spam play them and just blast that music because it's really, really good for us. It helps us. And do it if you like the music, obviously, but add it to your playlists, blast it, get everybody to see it. The cool thing is with Apple Music, we're seeing who's Shazamming the song. So like someone will be at a bar and the song will play, and then they'll like, what is this song? And then they add us or whatever. It's really
That's cool.
Shout out to Michael Knowles. You can also buy his book, Speechless.
You can.
Eric Hilarity says, 1966, Yuri Bezmenov, a KGB defector, warned Americans about how they would slowly take down American democracy. It's on YouTube, but you should watch it. It's scary how accurate it is. That's right.
Interviewed by G. Edward Griffin.
Really?
Yep.
OG Edward Griffin. Let's go.
Creature from Jekyll Island.
Yes.
Great book.
Yeah.
Definitely recommend it. And we should try to get him on the podcast.
I'd love to. I actually talked to him before, and he was interested. It's just a matter of getting him out here.
How old is he now?
He's got to be in his 70s or 80s or something.
Yeah,
I mean, he's in like the 50s
he's
talking
up there.
about
He's
it.
up there.
But
up there.
he's smart. He's still
Oh, no,
there.
I've seen his
he still
interviews.
has
They're
it all.
brilliant.
Not That Guy says, I'll put my house up for sale tomorrow. Where do we go? Want to start a business that requires a storefront? 100% serious. My property tax, $500 a month. I don't know. I don't know where to go. We're in the West Virginia tri-state area. So we have two big cities. We have Frederick, Maryland, and we have Charlestown. I'm staying way away from communist Maryland. And, I really want to set up, it'd be fun to do a pizza place with like arcade games, skee ball.
Yeah, that's a bonding experience.
Yeah, we played skee ball. Ian won. He got
Yeah.
40,000 points.
We had this arcade game
I
where
accused him of photoshopping it.
me and Kara each had like a rifle, and we were shooting it like it was like a Space
It
Invaders
was an
game.
alien turret blaster.
Yeah, man, it was like a bonding experience for us. Taking out the aliens together.
What are you doing
It was
there,
awesome. You see me. You know what I'm doing. One
over there.
direction. It was a
That
bonding
YouTube
experience, let me
channel
tell you again.
that takes things out of context
There
from
you
the
go.
show is
Yep.
going to have a heyday with
Cast out of
that.
context.
Yes.
I love those guys. They do great work.
That's funny.
We went to Funky's arcade bar in, I think it was in Danville, Virginia. I think it was.
Yeah, it was right
Funky's.
around
That
there.
place
Yeah,
is
yeah, it
awesome.
was.
And I walked inside of this place and I saw the tables. They had beer on tap, but it was like you charge your card with cash and then you just like pull it and it calculates. So like a full beer was like $2. They had skee ball, they had racing games, and I was like,
skee-ball,
this is
yeah.
amazing. We need this.
Yeah, it was great.
We,
Do you guys have the axe throwing out here? Is that a big thing?
Yeah, I mean, there's commercials for it and stuff.
It's big. It's big out where we're at.
The,
right now.
the yuppie hipsters love it.
I think they're trying to get their rural roots going.
But
Yeah.
I think we need like an arcade bar kind of thing. Games,
Basketball, one of those like basketball games.
skee ball. You know what we want to do? And we need help. If you can help us, please. We want to make skee bowling. This is our big idea. And I have no idea.
Ski bowling?
Ski bowling.
Huh.
Ski bowl.
Go on.
So here's what it is. It's a bowling lane, but at the end is a launch ramp into skee ball targets. And so it's just a massive skee ball with a bowling ball, and you throw the bowling ball, and then it launches up, and you're trying to get the 10,000 in the edge or the side or whatever. Ski bowling.
That's awesome.
It's exactly what it
that
is.
sounds like fun.
They would
That
be
sounds
like
fun.
super fun. And so the idea I was thinking is like, you don't actually have to use bowling balls because bowling balls can be heavy because you want to knock the pins down. This can be a lighter plastic ball, just a light ball that just you want to launch and get in the hole. And imagine a bowling lane with a launch ramp. That'd be so fun.
You could actually have a bowling lane with the launch ramp that comes down, so you have your skee bowl, and then you can pull the ramp up and actually just put pins down and actually bowl regular too.
Oh yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah, you could actually have the skee ball target thing be lifted up and clear out of the way. Yeah, that'd be
Awesome.
cool.
I always wondered how new games were made. It seems like we should be like done with new games by now. Like the human experience should be done, and then there's a new game always coming. Especially drinking games. Drinking
Yes.
games. There's always a new. I spent some time with my nephews recently, and there's all these new drinking games I had never seen before.
Yeah, there's one. It's a drinking game. It's really fun. You watch Timcast IRL, and whenever Tim says Civil War, you take a drink.
And then you die. It's true.
And then you get alcohol poisoning.
I got the age. G. Edward Griffin actually is 90
Oh,
years
wow.
old.
Yeah, I knew he was up
Cow.
there.
Keep it up.
All right, Mavis says Michael Knowles finally reviewed Tim's song "Will of the People" during the whole video. He was speechless.
Okay. Getting
Just
out
sat
of
there in
hand.
stunned silence.
You can purchase "Will of the People" and "Only Ever Wanted" on iTunes, or add them on your Spotify playlists, and listen to the songs. Enjoy them.
You can purchase
We've got.
Speechless.
I think what we have coming out in a couple of weeks is probably going to be a lighter piano version of the song. We'll see. We will see. Brian. Wow, why did I say that? Brian Timmer says, Luke, how's your German Shepherd doing?
She's awesome. She's in the back of all my videos right now on my YouTube channel. She's always just hanging out. We usually go for like a little walk right in the morning. I shoot my videos. She knows right away. As soon as I start screaming, she goes right in the back of the couch, relaxes,
scared,
lays down. No, she's not. She's like hanging out, chilling, not even
Too
caring about
funny.
anything. She knows I'm at work. As soon as we're done with work, we go play outside. She gives me a lot of exercise, a lot of happiness. And if you have a dog, they're awesome and incredible, and I have a lot of fun. And she's helping me get back in shape.
And what kind of dog is it?
A German Shepherd.
Okay.
Yeah, super
so
smart,
cute.
very
Those are
very
great dogs.
intelligent dogs that you have to work with, train every single day,
Yeah.
and that's what we do. And it's been a lot of work, but really fun.
Right on.
It is a lot of fun.
Jake Malone says, I made the Bad Thing browser extension and it's hilarious. Check your info email for screenshots and install info.
That's awesome.
So the idea was that it replaces all of the right-wing words with bad thing. Because it doesn't matter what they're saying, it's meaningless. So it's going to be like, the right demanded bad thing. And they are bad people who want bad thing. Taking Back Toxic says he clearly removed the tags that say not to remove them under penalty of law.
Oh, Mike Lindell.
Yeah, Mike Lindell, he pulled the tags off the
Oh my
tags.
gosh.
Makes sense.
They're coming
Not
for him.
remove tag.
He had some top secret tags that they had to
that's
go
probably what it
confiscate.
was, yeah.
Bobcat says, Tim, look it up. The Bolshevik Revolution had some of the bloodiest fighting of the First World War. U.S. troops even got dragged into that mess, leading to the worst retreat in U.S. history until Biden. Ha! That was a good one. Ashborough says, any update on Discover Card regarding boomstick sale tracking? I applied for a Discovered Card today.
Oh.
Yep, I got approved.
Oh, of course.
So I have a Discovered Card coming, and if the news comes out, the Discover Card's going to start playing that same business, or maybe they already do. I don't know. I will cancel the card.
Yeah, I asked people on my Twitter if anyone could investigate this for us. I still haven't had time to look at all the answers,
I think
but
Discover
I'm going
might
to
be good. Yo, they have 5% cash back. That's crazy.
Yeah.
5%. Discover Card sounds pretty good. 5% cash back.
That
no
is
tracking
nice.
your gun purchases.
That's a great selling point, yeah.
There you go.
There goes your motto.
You know, we should make a fake commercial for it.
Their marketing
I heard you guys
campaign.
talking about it last night. The Visa, MasterCard are
And
gonna
American
start
Express.
tracking. That I was like, I'm so aghast and stunned.
What do they plan on doing with that information, though?
sharing it with governments.
yep.
Or putting it in databases that could be probably hacked by other.
But the
people.
government, you have to. In most places, when you purchase a gun, you have to get it right. You have to go through a screening process. I mean, I've done that with all my guns. Every time I buy a gun, I have to send
But it's
off my
illegal for the
clearance.
federal government to create a firearms registry. So now they're doing it through the corporations. And they'll have the list. They'll have the registry that way.
Got you.
Which is illegal and unconstitutional.
All right, what do we got? Pinochet's helicopter tours. That's an interesting
Oh,
name.
my.
Lindsey Graham and his ladybugs should go away. What is that a reference to?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Sure.
I haven't heard that one
Waffle
before.
Sensei says, would you kindly spin the UFO? We can't. Ian
We
broke it.
can't.
No, I can
It's
try
dead.
though.
No, it's not plugged in, is it? Oh, it is. It is. It's on now.
Yeah, the lights are on, like the little lights underneath it. Yeah. See if
you
you
get-
can do it. Oh, no
Ian,
pressure,
I
Ian.
tried to one shot it. Come on, I can do this.
That's a one.
Ian,
Somebody
it's
did it.
Flashing. Can you set it when it's flashing?
Yeah, you can set it.
Here we go.
Come on.
We got this.
You just put it right there. Lower your hands and then find the center.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
It makes it sound easy.
Where's your
done
chi?
with this
Ian?
trash,
Got
dude.
this.
Where's your chi? Where's your
Wow.
impressive?
You know what I
Wait,
can
wait,
do,
did you
though?
not have the camera on it when I just did that perfectly in
Yeah,
one
yeah.
go?
Tim's smooth.
One move.
Look at that wobble.
You're going to mess it up. Ian,
That's
because
because of gravity.
No.
Or is it magnetism?
It's
You got to
it's actually
meditate more,
momentum.
bro.
Too much graphene in
You
there.
got to meditate more, bro.
You're right. I should be more still.
It's the momentum. When you push one side, that one side stays down the whole time, bouncing up and down, so it creates the wobble.
Because the universe is curved.
Yeah.
No, it's because
exactly.
you
That's why.
applied downward force to the
Here
UFO.
we go.
Let's get physical.
Yeah, physics. Well, we spun the UFO waffles, so
Thank you, Waffles. We
mission
love you.
accomplished. Brad Turley says, Tim, everywhere I go is a riot. People crying. Young Turks, everywhere you go is silent. Why so quiet? That's a reference to not the actual lyrics, but Tom McDonald's song Riot. It's actually a really good song. I like it. Riot. Have you guys been listening to it?
Yeah, it was catchy.
Yeah, it is. It's really
I
good.
thought the chorus was catchy.
Yep. I dig it.
People love that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's good. It's awesome stuff. And I just love the smack talking the establishment. That's what it's all about. But this song, Riot's not overtly political, but it is anti-establishment. So good stuff, man. Tom, you rock. You guys should check out Tom McDonald's Riot. Buy his song on iTunes. Help him hit #1. If he does hit #1 on the Hot 100, which
That's
is
right.
a stretch, we will all wear suits.
That's right.
But we'll see. Maybe he'll hit #1 in some fashion, and then we'll just wear suits because it'll be funny.
People were requesting I wear a corduroy suit.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That'd be perfect.
I've been looking.
Luke's
going to
wear
anyway.
a pimp suit.
Damn
I
right.
have one.
Great.
I have
Great.
Oh,
You can't
solid. What
appropriate
color?
my culture.
What color is your corduroy suit?
Tan,
Oh,
brownish tan.
Really?
Hot.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Purple or green? I don't know. I'm looking for something like that.
Gosh.
No username to display says there are indeed aliens partly responsible for all the evil and insanity. They are called demons. Yo, DMT is some of the craziest stuff.
Yeah, I would love to
Because the
smoke
stories I hear about that, people talk about demons, and I wonder if they see demons just because their worldview is molded around the ideas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if someone didn't know anything about demons, what would they call it? And would it exist? Like, would they perceive it? You know what I mean?
What is it? Is it a liquid or is it a
It's in your brain right now, and every time you dream, your brain lets it out a little bit.
Yeah, it's
When
actually
you're
in your
born with
muscles,
it, and
too.
your brain is flooded with it when you're born with it. When you die, your brain is flooded with it as
And
well.
was
And
it-
people could artificially take it to pretty much see
Break
what
the
happens
veil.
when they die.
Interesting.
Break the veil, yeah.
The choroidal. There's part of the brain. The
I've heard
choroidal
Rogan talk
something.
about it a
Yeah,
lot.
people say
Yeah.
how they literally see their soul leaving their bodies, and they talk to entities and little
Demons?
elves and some demons and some other creatures that are more loving and caring and give them answers to a lot of their life problems. And
But I've
it's-
heard
Sounds like a litmus test of where you
Some-
are mentally at that time.
Mm-hmm.
some people have said that demons offer them a deal. They'll give you
with the
knowledge and
devil.
information.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, I don't want it.
That sounds like a psychotic trip, kind of like, that you're going through.
Yo,
It's an
people have
induced psychotic
shared
trip.
experiences of what's crazy about
Yeah.
it. Like two people will like sit near each other but in different rooms and take it, and then they'll experience like
the same thing.
the same place. Like
Yeah.
they'll see the same people and everything. That's crazy.
Yeah, it makes you understand that there's a bigger spiritual and
Connection.
and aspect to our existence that we still
I was-
don't even know about.
I was talking to somebody who told me like, don't take the deal. It's a deal. It's with a demon. You can't take it. You got to resist. And I was like, why? Like, they'll tell you that they know the truth and they know what's really going on and they want to help you, but it's not really help. It's a trick. They're demons trying to manipulate you. And then I was just like, but what's bad about the deal? Like, why shouldn't you take the deal? What bad is going to happen? You just can't do it because it's bad. And I was like, that's kind of weird because that kind of sounds like what the media says about Alex Jones. Alex Jones says, I'm just trying to let you know, I'm trying to help you. And they say, no, he's evil. He's grifting. He's trying to manipulate you. And he's saying, no, I'm just giving you the information you need. I'm trying to help. So it's like,
There's also a lot of people who take it who are like, you got to take it, you got to take it. And again, it's a personal journey. From my point of view, I think the best advice is telling people, hey, do your own research, listen to your gut, make your own decisions for yourself. Don't take advice from podcasters.
yeah. And,
I'll give you some advice though. When the demon comes to you, you don't have to respond. Keep that in mind. You'll start to feel afraid, but override that and listen to it, and you'll realize it takes on a conversational tone, and it's part of you.
yeah, invoke the demon. Take his powers for yourself.
I did that at Burning
Steal
Man.
his energy.
Yeah, you can do that.
You did that at Burning Man?
Yeah, I
you
invoked a
stole
demon.
the demon's
I
powers?
was thinking instead of speaking at that
I
point. I
remember
was
that.
thinking, "Speak to me, demon. Speak to me." And it started this noise, just erupted from the audio. Like there's thousands of musics going on all at once across the playa, reverberating, creating this mega music. And it came out of the music, this like vibration, this really, and it was like moving up and down. And I couldn't control it. And then it took on the sound of this voice. I just stayed calm, and then it got conversational, and I realized this is just me talking to myself.
This is one thing people don't often realize because, we only do the show at night, but periodically throughout the day, several times a week, Ian will, all of a sudden his eyes will turn black and he'll start floating.
Yeah, it's true. It's very
and
weird.
Things will start flying around the room, and then we got to like bop him on the head
always
with a
a
little
mess,
stick, and then he
yeah.
comes back down, and then we're like, nah, stop it.
a mess.
Stop it.
Cashew ice cream.
That's the real problem.
He's like, raw, and then you're like, have this cashew ice cream. Sir, he was like, oh, and then he comes back down.
Then
monk
he
fruit.
cleaned it up.
There's
Yep.
another super chat that I think is kind of pretty good. I don't know if I could read it. One by Howard for $100, and he's asking if Catherine Austin Fitz use cash now, have her on. She has been making a lot of pretty interesting videos, and
What about?
Specifically about the smart grids, the smart cities, and how a lot of the new technology is being integrated to control humanity. She was a part of the Bush administration. She was in the White House working with them, and then she came out and revealed a lot of the bigger plans when it comes to the centralization of power and authority. She's a great thinker. She thinks outside the box. I don't always agree with her, but I think she would be definitely awesome to have as someone
Cool.
to come on to warn and talk about what she's been
We-
researching and studying.
We have a big show tomorrow. So we don't reveal who our guests are, but tomorrow's
That's right.
going to be crazy.
Hopefully.
Big
I've
show.
heard. It is a big one.
And then Friday as well is going to be crazy. We're poking the bear with these next couple shows, so it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, Home Slice 97 says, as a type 1 diabetic, I've had to swallow the very hard pill that no matter how much I prep, I cannot survive a total collapse. It keeps me up at night. You can. You just need a pig farm.
Oh.
Yeah. You need. What do you do? You isolate insulin from the pig?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
how they do that. Yeah, I would learn about that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'll tell you this, buddy. I'm not a doctor, so I would encourage you to take the proper educational courses to learn how to perform the veterinary skills on a pig in such a way that you can extract the insulin from his body. And I think the challenge is that like it would kill the pig. Maybe not. Maybe you can take enough of its insulin or whatever.
I
But
don't know.
Don't be
you can
friends
probably
with the pig.
Yeah.
you can probably figure out how to synthesize or maybe not synthesize, but harvest
Yeah.
insulin from like pigs. That's what they did, right? That's how the first. I'm pretty sure that's the first thing they did.
I believe so.
They like kids were dying and they didn't know why. And then somebody was like, I'm gonna take this thing from pig, give it to them. The kids got better, and they're like, hey, this thing's helping. And then we figured out, oh, it's insulin. It's
I think a
pancreas.
lot of people are taking up those kinds of things now, from homesteading to growing their own food because of everything that's happening. I think it's a silver lining in a lot of what we've been seeing happen.
And homeschooling as well.
Yes. 100%.
All right. Ron Garian says Caesar crossing the Rubicon wasn't the start of the fall of Rome. If anything, the creation of the empire led to much needed reformations and purging of corruption that delayed the fall by 2 centuries.
Yeah, but at what cost? You know, destroying an evil system to create something evil isn't necessarily.
Was it evil though? Was the empire evil?
The empire? Well, it was an empire. It was one guy deciding, and then all the emperors start getting killed off by other people that want to become emperor. I mean, that's pretty evil.
Goblin King, dude.
Yeah.
To become the Goblin King, you got to kill the Goblin King. So everyone's constantly just doesn't work out very well. What do we got? We got more. What is this about Jesus Christ? Lucas Ferguson says, interesting thought, Ian, about being willing to die for someone else despite what you believe. Jesus Christ died to absolve everyone from the beginning of history to the end of history's sins.
I hope he did. And what I mean is I hope he actually absolved people. But I don't know if someone dying does that. You got to absolve yourself. You got to be humble, man, and speak your mind publicly. I let go of my secrets. It was something I did on the internet. I was like, let me just tell my secrets to keep blocking my thoughts. I keep thinking about this crap, so I started making internet videos about it, and I started clearing my mind up. And I thought, actually, maybe I have control of my morality.
Makes you harder to be attacked as well too. If you don't have anything in the closet, what can they attack?
Yeah, don't be afraid to speak the truth.
Here's an important one. David Dorr says, my cat watches Chicken City every day when I'm at work. Yes! Chicken City! So one of the new baby chickens is brooding.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Like it's an adult now.
Premature?
But it is early. It is early. So, Kim, our chicken tender, was saying she was surprised to see a first year was brooding. This basically means she's trying to have babies. Aww. And Kim walked over and tried picking her up, and she pecks at you because when the chicken's brooding, she's like, she wants to plop down and hatch some eggs. Yeah. But it's too late in the season, which is a bummer because the best way to have chickens is to have the chickens have the chickens because then they protect them. But by the time the chickens are feathered, it's going to be winter, and they're going to have a really hard time of the cold, so we can't do it. But come springtime, hopefully they'll get broody, and then we're going to hatch a bunch of babies. The roosters will get sent to Cocktown, and I'm ready to eat them, but Chris doesn't want to eat them.
You got attached to him?
Well, I don't know. He wants to let him give him a chance to survive in nature.
Yeah, he likes to watch animals experiment with watching their growth process.
Well, I don't know. He just doesn't want to kill them, and he's like, if they can survive on their own, that's their choice and their chance. Killing them is killing them, but letting them go, hey, that's their responsibility.
I'm into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button? Subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, and head over to timcast.com. Become a member. We're going to have a members-only show, and I guess we're going to be talking about 9/11. It is a couple days after, and people were asking for it. So we'll go for it. We'll have a big conversation about it. And don't forget to show Tom McDonald some support by buying his song, Riot. This is the reporting week. He released the song on Friday. Tom's awesome. He's anti-establishment. He's fully independent. He's very successful. And these are the kind of voices that we want to succeed in the music industry. And I would love to see him just shatter the Billboard charts so that we can prove that we don't need these institutions anymore and we're taking over. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me at Timcast. You can check out our songs, Will of the People and Only Ever Wanted on Spotify. Check them out. Listen to the music. Buy them on iTunes. And what did I say? Timcast. You can follow me if you'd like. Patrick, do you want to shout anything out?
I want to shout out my wife for it's our 19th anniversary. She's here with me. Thank you so much.
Congrats.
My partner in crime. And I want to say to everyone's watching, support this team. I'm telling you, I see all of these entities that are out there producing content. These guys talk about what's important. They talk about the importance of culture. They talk about the importance of taking back this all through culture. And it's something that I think you guys need to support, because if you don't support this, you lose it. You don't have the power that we need to have. We need people like this to thrive. So please support this show.
Absolutely. What was your website again?
It's redpilledamerica.com, where we publish every Friday. We're also on the radio every weekend on iHeartRadio. And we're a good old-fashioned storytelling show. We typically about 35 to 40 minutes each episode, and sometimes we do deep dives and what have you.
I'm going to go check it out. Thank you so much for coming on. My website is lukeuncensored.com. I did a video there about the AI robotic apocalypse that is coming our way. As an AI developer just came out today and said that we have 3 years left as humanity. I talked about that. lukeuncensored.com. Hope to see you there right after this video. Ian.
Always a pleasure, Luke. Thank you.
Good to
Patrick,
have you
great
on
to
the
see
show.
you, man.
You as well.
Tim, Lydia, thank you guys so much. And I love you guys out there. Thank you for being here and listening and watching and chatting and getting involved. I want to point you towards timcast.com, because tonight, Cast Castle episode 4 has gone live on the website. And if you want to see it, the episode's called The Big Lie. If you've been following it, there's a corruption scandal brewing.
Luke was telling me how excited he was for it.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
It's basically, the synopsis is, in the first episode, I'll avoid as many spoilers as possible, but Ian runs for union president. And then, they're counting, everyone's cheering, but, hold on. There's other employees at the company who aren't here, so they have to vote, outside. But we'll make sure we count all those, and at 3 a.m, the votes come in. Mm-hmm. And then you can imagine what happens to Ian's election.
So go to timcast.com and subscribe, log in, and on the left you'll see Cast Castle. You get there from there. You see episode 4, The Big Lie, and I will see you guys later. I actually might not be around this week too much. I know we have multiple guests coming at points.
This week, yeah.
So I may
Tomorrow's
not be here. I may be here. We'll find out. If I don't see you till next week, I love you. I'll catch you later.
Tomorrow's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's going to
lit.
be really important politically. So you guys definitely want to put this on your calendars. I'm not going to say too much, because in the event, sometimes people cancel, but we got some big people are going to come, and we're going to have a really interesting conversation.
Yep, I am very excited about tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. But today was great as well. Thank you so much for coming, Patrick. I'm looking forward to listening to your podcast. I'm going to add this to my rotation, so I'm not just getting current events. Also, some historical context will be perfect, and I hope the rest of you guys will join me with that as well. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Minds.com as Sarah Petchlitz, as well as my own site, sarahpetchlitz.me.
We'll see you all over at timcast.com. Thanks for hanging out.
Bye, guys.